same. Well, my head hurts, throbbing with this pain. As I'm hung over and over again. As I'm hung over and over again.
Get ready, modelers. It's time for the one, the only ChadLee Show's After Hours RC Podcast. Your host, the Outlaws of Scale Modeling and possibly model aviation all together, Chad Osmus and Lee Watkins.
I'm falling off that wagon, 'cause the road was a little rough. Feeling it's a drag, man, and I just can't seem to get enough. Hung over and over again. Every morning it's just the same. My head hurts, throbbing with this pain. As I'm hung over and over again. As I'm hung over and over again. As I'm hung over and over again.
All right. I guess
Here we are.
I guess that's it.
Here we go. That means we gotta do crap now.
Yeah, something like that. So welcome everybody to the ChadLee Show. I apologize for all the crazy stuff going on as I was trying to get my sound to come through on the Facebook Live stuff. Lee's going to be monitoring that for you guys that are putting up questions, comments, stuff like that. Lee, do you still have the sound on so you know that my sound's still coming through good?
It was coming through. I just turned it down so it wouldn't pick it up on my mic.
All right, sounds good. If every once in a while you want to just check and make sure the sound's doing good, that'd be great.
All right.
So we got it's like a 45-second delay or something crazy like that on the Facebook Live. So we apologize for that. So this show, episode number 3, RC Outlaws on ARFs versus Builds. See, Lee and I, we lost the damn nicknames. Nobody wants to play with us anymore, so we're the Outlaws, I guess, of RC now is what we're calling ourselves. So
either that or the bloody bastards, you know.
Something. We had Mean Joe quit on us. He was afraid that one of his sponsors would be upset if he was associated with us. We asked another person if they wanted to be on an interview, and they had to think about it. Another person associated with the same sponsor. So apparently this sponsor's not wanting anybody to hang out with Lee and I anymore.
Yep.
It is what it is.
We did it.
I'm sure you guys can figure out who it is.
Not hard.
Anyway, so this show, we're going to talk about, we'll have the what's happening, and there's some crazy stuff happening.
Oh, man.
I'll talk about that later. And then we're going to go into social media, the do's and don'ts, and if you should trust people that are giving you advice on social media, stuff like that, social media. And then we'll have In the Toolbox with Lee Watkins, which kind of is a prelude into our main topic, I guess you could say. And then we'll have Safety 101 with yours truly. And then we'll go into the big main topic, scratch builds, kits, or ARFs. Which one should you choose? When should you choose it?
Yes.
Never choose an ARF. No, I'm kidding.
There you go.
Then we'll have the Freedom of Information Act, which we got quite a few questions. You know who didn't ask a question this time?
Oh, no, but he knows he's going to be in this one.
Jeremy Chrisman. I tell you.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be in it.
He actually called me. Sadly, I gave him my telephone number, so
Oh man.
I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I was getting irritated trying to text message him and explain him stuff. So, and then we'll have notable events, which I have one I'm going to talk about, and that brings us to the end of the show. So let's get started. Lee,
Alrighty, man.
what's
Yes,
happening
sir.
with you, buddy?
I've just been playing around with this P39 after work and whatnot. I'm not getting as much time as I wanted to, just with the work and the time change and all that kind of crap. So it's been kind of slowing me down this week. So, but I'm slowly getting some progress made on it. So
When I watched the
ran into
video of
a
you,
couple of
and-
issues to it.
Hey, quiet down. When I watched the video of you on the Skype right here and listen to you, it's like watching a freaking Japanese movie. Your lips
I
is
know
moving and the sound's way off.
Exactly.
I'm sure
It's a
everybody
bad
in
B-rate
Facebook
movie.
land's dealing with that crap too. Not to cut you off.
Exactly.
You had some issues on your gear with the P39, right?
Yeah, there was. I got a hold of Jerry, and he worked his butt off on it. He did come up with a solution for it. And this kind of ties into our episode of what we got going on, where you should have all your, paraphernalia that needs to go with the airplane, the engine, the retracts, and
Definitely.
whatever.
Yeah.
As you're building it. I personally did not have my retracts at the time. They were on order because they were a special cut. So
You got them from
took a little
Robart,
while
right?
to get them. So, but we've got it resolved anyway. So we're going to continue on with the project. So
You got the retracts from Robart, right?
yeah. Jerry didn't specify Robart retracts. I've been affiliated with Robart, so I chose them to do all my stuff. So it was nothing against Jerry, it was nothing against Robart or anything, but I had to modify the Robart retracts. Robart built me exactly what I wanted.
Basically, what you're
there's just a
saying
little
is you screwed up.
configuration issue as far as the wheel laying into the wheel well. So, but we did a little engineering and we got it situated. So I plan on doing a little video on it later on and putting it on our Facebook page anyway, so you can kind of see what I was talking about.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, definitely get something on the Facebook page about that. I guess you got anything else going on with you?
Now just working like crazy here. Hopefully next weekend. Well, next weekend is Thanksgiving, obviously. So I hope to get some serious building time in. So
Look at that, you're full screen now. You have no idea what I'm
Right.
talking about, do you?
I'm sorry you cut out there for a second, Chad.
Oh, I said you're full screen now.
Whoa, man.
I don't know
Why
if
is
you're
that?
full screen on the TV. You want to quick turn up the volume on your TV, just make sure you can hear both of us talking, not just me.
All right. Alrighty, I can do that, man.
So, I mean, it's kind of a critical thing. Can you hear you?
Yep, I got us both there, so
All
we're
right,
good.
fantastic.
Continue on.
All right. I don't know why I'm so worried about that, but, I got to keep everybody happy, right?
Well, we can try.
All right, you got anything else going on? I asked you, but I don't know if you said anything.
Yeah, other than work and playing around with this stuff and whatnot. So that's about it right now.
All right, I have a couple of things. One thing I wanted to mention, and I posted it on our Facebook page, Max Amps is doing a giveaway thing. I don't know when that actually ends. Max Amps is I've been listening to a lot of other podcasts, a lot of the remote control car podcast things, and one of the guys that I listened to was he's sponsored by Max Amps, and he's always talking them up. And after listening to him a few shows, and this is Tim Smith, by the way. What is it? The TSR Speed
Tim
Shop
Smith Racing.
podcast. Yep. Check him out, guys. Great podcast. And the thing, I'm getting off on a tangent, but the thing is, the RC car stuff has a lot that actually relates to the airplane stuff in the electric world. So you guys that are electric guys, I mean, those guys are really getting down and dirty with the electrics and getting them to run at their peak and prime and all that stuff. So check them out. The other one is MBM Podcast. That's Matt Hawson, I think is his name. Both him and Tim do the TSR one, and then Matt has his own. I'm enjoying listening to them. So that's actually, I'm going to buy a couple of those batteries, 3 of them actually, and put those in my third scale Newport 17. And I want to try those out. Everything on high voltage. I'll be running a high voltage setup with the 8.4. I'm not getting into the crazy. They got a lot of new, I don't know if you've heard, Lee, they got a new high voltage Lipo. Have you heard about those?
I haven't paid too much attention to that kind of stuff yet. So.
Yeah, I guess it stems from the RC car world where they overcharge to try and get the edge on the competitor. Now they're coming out with high voltage ones, and I don't know, it's above my pay grade, but yeah, so check out Max Amps, guys. I'll put a link to their website also, and then as soon as I get some batteries in and check them out, test them out, do my kind of thing, we'll talk about them again. I'll let you guys know what I think of them. So far, from what I hear, they sound like they're a great battery. I've talked to a couple other people. So the other thing I want to talk about is the
hang on a
Navy.
second, Chad.
What?
Hang on a second. We got a couple comments. One, Tim Henry said hi, everyone. So
Hey.
hi, Tim. Another one is Del Shannon. He said hi.
I tell you what,
and
that
then William
guy's
Combs
been,
said no, it doesn't. I'm not quite sure what no, it doesn't comments about, but maybe he'll elaborate on it for us so we know since we got
who
the
said
delay
that?
going on here.
Who said that? Can you not hear me anymore?
Now I can hear you.
Oh. What, never mind. I forgot what I was going to ask. Anyways, you took care of that. Good enough. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this Navy doing their fucking skywriting, man.
Oops.
That is fantastic. That's the first Navy person that I have respect for.
There you go.
I mean, being Army.
There you go.
That was a badass Navy guy right there. And then I was watching all the memes come in saying it was a cowboy hat, you know, because if it looks kind of like a cowboy hat if you put the two together, like the Toy Story cowboy hat, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So, ooh, shit.
Yeah. There's some videos and everything on it. So.
Oh, man, that is fantastic. When I started seeing that stuff coming across, I was laughing my ass off.
How could you not, you know?
I all of a sudden got super loud in my headphones, so I don't know what's going on with that.
There you go.
I
hear ya.
My levels still seem to be about the same as yours, so we'll go.
All right.
All right, so let's get into one of our main topics, the social media thing. I didn't get any notes from you at all this week, Lee, so I don't know if you're adding to it. If you have certain things to say, just cut in and start talking.
Well, unlike you, I have a full-time job I got to go to every day, so it kind of just throws it off.
What are you trying to say?
No, nothing, so. But no, yeah, you worked your butt off this week on this stuff, so I got to give you props out for that because in case anybody knows, Chad does all the editing and putting this all on and whatnot. So I got to give Chad a big props out for that. So good job, man.
Hey, I just noticed you're wearing a Best Pilot shirt.
Yeah, I know people.
Lal Vassar. I understand
There
I've
you
never
go.
bought one of your pilots, but where's my shirt, buddy?
I had to put it on.
Here, rub it in.
There you go.
All right. Anyways, let's move on to the social media. So the first thing I want to talk about, and this got brought up because it seemed like this last week there was a crap load of stupid stuff that I was seeing on the on the Facebook forums and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I got to talk about this because it's getting into be building season. A lot of people are in the workshops over the winter, checking out social media and asking their questions, whatnot. And, you know, the first one, I don't know if you've seen any of these, Lee. I don't know if I sent you any of the stuff.
Yeah, I was watching a few of them. And I'm kind of, I sit back and just kind of watch a lot of things just because it's funny. I may not get involved in the conversation itself, but I just sit back and observe.
And you know, sometimes I think it's better if you don't get into conversations, but I have a hard time holding back, especially when I see it's being like well, I mean, some of these are safety issues that people are talking about, you know?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
You know, the first one I want to talk about is there was a post, I think it was Balsa Builders Association or whatever it is, about the balance plugs. A guy wanted to bring his balance plug out to the outside of an airplane so he could charge his life battery inside. And so I was reading through all these posts, and there was one person said, oh, you don't need to balance through a balance plug. That if you buy a high-tech charger, it has it built in and it'll just charge through the two wires and balance charge your battery somehow miraculously. It knows what cell voltage is and all that stuff. And
it's a Wi-Fi charger.
Yeah, which, you know, it's funny because they have a Wi-Fi charger now that you can work your charger with your cell phone.
There you go. So
you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can monitor your batteries. But anyways, I mean, the thing is, how it works to balance a battery is it has, I believe it's one positive, common positive, and then it's a separate ground going to each cell, and that's what your balance plug is. That's why you always have one extra wire over the number of cells that you have. And when you plug that in, the charger, if you have a balanced charger, the charger can read those cell voltages and it'll cut off or whatever it does, but it helps keep those cell voltages at the same level, basically, so that they climb up together, they peak off together, all that kind of stuff. If you're only plugging in two wires, it's impossible for you to balance charge a battery.
Exactly. You're pushing it to all cells.
You know, and this guy was going back and forth, arguing with me on it. He says, oh, no, it's got some internal balancer built in or something. And I went straight to the website to look it up. And it does say that it has that, but it's so you don't have to hook up an external balancer. It doesn't say that you don't have to plug the balance plug in. So... yeah. You know, that's the one thing you guys got to be careful when somebody comments on something. You know, make sure
do some due diligence research.
Yeah. I mean, take what they're saying with a grain of salt, because there's a crap load of keyboard builders out there where they've apparently built everything, and yet they still have time to sit on their keyboard for 20 hours a day. And I understand I'm on the social media a lot, but I have no freaking job, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do your research on who you're getting this information from. Pay attention. If you're going to be asking questions on sites like that, pay attention to who's giving back good advice consistently, and who seems to know everything about everything. The people that always know everything, chances are they don't know everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
I will only comment on a post if I know for sure I'm 100% correct, or my answer is a perfectly fine answer. If I have any question at all, I won't, or I'll ask that person a question to find out more information.
There you go. I do know of, speaking of that, as far as good information, bad information, and whatnot, this goes to somebody that you... I got to pause you
for a second, Lee.
Hey,
everybody, I just want you... I installed something new in my workshop today.
Uh-oh.
It's this beautiful refrigerator stocked with beer.
Oh. Well, I don't necessarily have a refrigerator in my little workshop here, but I do. Oh, just so you guys know, I did a little sandblasting today. Got a little P-39 Air Cobra action going on. Beer mug. So
we're gonna have to make some ChadLee show beer mugs for when we go to the shows.
So screw the beer. We're going right to the good stuff.
Going straight to the bug juice, eh?
That's right. We might as well just get this stuff right on going here. Might as well get it going good.
All right, so
anyway, back to our
thinks,
comment about
now that everybody thinks we're alcoholics by the first, I don't know if you guys noticed our intro was different too. We decided to switch everything up this time. I mean, it seemed like every show something new was happening. Well, now it's down to the two, and we're good. So we'll keep it as is now. Screw it. We don't need anybody else.
There you go, man.
All right.
There you go.
Let's get back onto the social media thing.
Well, I was talking about the guy that you just gave your phone number to.
You were talking to him?
No, we're talking about him as far as getting good information and bad information.
Oh, yeah.
He just went back home to Germany, I believe it was, and he made a stop at a local Harbor Freight in Florida, I believe.
Yep.
And Jeremy Christman there, he got a bunch of tools and whatnot, and he asked some questions, and I kind of told him how to put the blade in backwards on his saw so he wouldn't screw up the balsa wood, and just kind of mess with him a little bit. Well, the next thing you know, he puts a post on Balsa Builders, and the thing went viral on him. So he ended up getting a lot of good information with it, but me and Chad had to mess with him a little bit.
Well, you know, and we'll only mess with you for so long before we tell you the truth. So
exactly, we won't leave you hanging for 2 months.
Yeah, the best one was the heater thing. Still, I don't care what anybody says.
That was awesome.
So
that was friggin' awesome.
You know, another one with the whole reading with a grain of salt thing. A prime example. Battery charging post is what I have written. Lipos catch fire. Oh, this was a post. A guy said something about he was going to use a life battery or something, and he asked a question. I forget exactly what the question was, but one of the comments was, "Oh, don't ever use any kind of lithium batteries. My buddy put the charger on wrong and the battery started on fire because he had the wrong settings in it. He charged it as a Lipo instead of a lithium or a life or something like that." And whatever the case may be. But this is the thing. A nickel metal hydride or a NiCad, if you put the charger setting wrong, you're going to start that one on fire too. So it doesn't matter what battery you have. If you're hooking it up wrong, it doesn't matter with the battery.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there's another one. So people are spreading all this crazy things because they think it's terrible, when if you use it properly, you'll never have an issue. I've been using Lipos for freaking crap loads of years, and I've never had an issue with one.
Yeah.
Not saying that it won't happen if I ever hook up the charger wrong, but I try to keep the same batteries. That way I only have one setting on my charger. I don't have to worry about it hooking it up wrong. You know, I put the same battery in every airplane. I don't have 400 different batteries, a special one for each airplane.
Yeah. Try to keep it uniform anyway.
Yeah.
I know at one of our events this year that we went to, Fond du Lac, we had one that the guy had depleted the battery and was trying to bring it back, and actually caught fire and burnt the plane down in the storage tent almost.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, well, and there again, that's a prime example. He was trying to bring it back, so he put it on a NiCad or a nickel metal setting so that it could pump in a little bit of juice so he could turn it onto the Lipo setting. And the worst part is he did that in a storage tent with a bunch of other airplanes, and he wasn't watching it. He wasn't anywhere near it. I mean, that's asinine. I don't care who you are, and it's a shame. Luckily, nobody else's airplane got damaged. It was just his, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. You know, I hate charging airplane or charging batteries in an airplane, but a lot of ours, you know, the batteries are buried so bad in the airplane that you can't hardly get to them. So, but I use A123s from Electrodynamics for my stuff anyway. So, and knock on wood, I have not had any issues with them, giving me any problems.
Yeah, and along with that, I want to bring up there was another one. A guy was asking about how he could extend his balance plug because he wanted to. I guess he has a scalar RC car, and the body was hard for him to get off or something. Lee, go over to the other side so that your face ain't covered up by my picture. There you go.
How about that? That better?
But yeah, so he wanted to charge his Lipo while it was in the car, and he asked, is there any way to extend the balance plug? And right away, everybody started commenting, oh, you don't want to do that, that's bad, it'll ruin your car if for some reason it does catch on fire, you always want to pull it out. And every person was saying the same thing. Chances are, if you got 20 people that comment within 20 minutes and they all say the same thing, you want to listen to that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a time when you definitely want to pay attention to what they're saying. If you got a bunch of people saying the same thing, normally that's good information then at that point.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Sure.
Another one I want to bring up, this was actually from a while back when I was still flying the quarter scale SPAD when I was working at Balsa USA. And I had a DLE 30 in it. And I flew it all over. I mean, you seen me fly that thing. Plenty of power. I'd fly it at half throttle. And I was on a forum, and there was one guy who was talking about the SPAD, so I started reading it, and he said, oh, the Balsa USA SPAD, you can't fly unless you have a 55 or bigger in it, otherwise it won't take off. Well, I commented back with videos. I said, hey, man, I got a DLE 30 in mine. I fly at half throttle. What are you talking about? You need to have at least a 55. And the problem people have is they're too afraid to let the tail come up off the ground. They just pull back on the stick as soon as they throttle up, and full throttle. So then it goes all over the place because it's torquing all over. And, I mean, realistically, normally I have never had an airplane that the recommended engines will not fly the plane.
Yeah. The bad thing is that one thing I've noticed in the past several years is everybody wants to overpower everything, and they want to fly on the prop and not on the actual wing itself and fly it in a scale-like manner or what have you.
Well, I think if people realized the power ratio that a real airplane has over our models, I mean, half the time we're flying with like a 1 horsepower to 5 pounds or something like that, and you got like a Cub, a J3 Cub, they flew on Continental 65s, a 65 horsepower engine for the Cub, and we're putting in like 20 horsepower engines in a half scale one. That weighs 75 pounds.
No kidding.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about. Did you have something, Lee?
No, go for it, bud.
All right. The other thing I want to talk about with the whole reading with the grain of salt thing in the social media is putting the company on blast. You know what I'm saying? I worked at Balsa USA. A lot of you guys know that. I did some of the customer service. I did a lot of the social media for them. I monitored the social media, and somebody will come into an issue with an airplane or with a product. It doesn't even have to be an airplane. I've seen it with other products. And right away, before they even contact the manufacturer or the person they got it from, they throw it out on the internet, put it on blast. I'm telling you, I'd be willing to bet that 75% of the times people called Balsa USA with a complaint because they didn't, something didn't work right on their airplane. It wasn't the airplane. It was the way it was assembled, the way it was built, the person who was doing it. And, I mean, 90% of the time outside of that, it's easily corrected, and people make way big of a deal out of it. But they choke, and they have to throw stuff out there because all of a sudden they're frustrated, and they have a couple of beers in them, and they start typing on the keyboard,
Oh, yeah, definitely. We had Tim Haggerty typed in there. He said, let the airplane fly in the wing, not on the power.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, so, contact the company before you put them on blast on social media. Let them try and rectify a problem or something like that. Prime example is, there'd be 2 ribs to a die sheet, right? And there's 9 die sheets to make up the 18 ribs that you need in the wing panels. 9 ribs in one wing panel, 9 ribs in another wing panel. People would call up and say, hey, I only got enough wood for the left to build the left wing panel. I don't have any ribs for the other. Well, you don't have, I'd ask them, you don't have 1 rib left over? No. I said, well, how did you do that when they come 2 to a sheet and you only need 9 for 1 wing panel? You should have at least 1 rib left over.
Yeah.
And it's, come on, guys. A lot of companies, if you're just straightforward with them, they're way more willing to work with you than if they think you're trying to screw them over. I know that from experience. Balsa USA, just be straight with them. You'll call, you'll talk to Dave Lewis. Be a straight shooter with the guy. He's one of the nicest guys out there. He'll bend over backwards to help you out. So, and I mean, it is what it is. So
yeah, honesty is the best policy. I think that's stuff.
It's like when Lee had the issue with his landing gear. He didn't go on Facebook and start putting on blast Robart and Jerry Bates and every other manufacturer that he's used to build the airplane. He contacted the people to try and figure out what happened, if it was his fault, if it was a design issue, or what the case was, and they all came to a solution, and now it's going to be a great product in the end game.
Exactly.
So yeah,
there's no name calling or anything like that, or I'm going to boycott them or anything like that. That does no good for anybody.
Definitely. So we still have viewers watching us on Facebook?
Hey, I believe so. I keep monitoring it here. We're up to, let me see here. I got to go full screen again on that. We got 18 people watching, man.
Holy crap. People are still watching. Even we're 30 minutes into the damn show. Hopefully I remembered to push the record button.
Oh, man. We have to use a Skype feed.
All right. Let's see. Now I want to get into, and this is a touchy subject, but sponsored pilots. When I was with Balsa USA, I had a lot of people ask me if they could be a team pilot for Balsa USA and stuff like this, and I was a team pilot for them, and I've worked with other companies out there. I'm actually trying to work out a deal with a company right now. I hope it goes through. Either way, it doesn't matter because I still use their products. I'll still advertise their products. So it doesn't matter if I have a sponsorship or not. I will advertise the products that I use and that I stand behind. But for people who want to become a sponsored pilot, there's some do's and don'ts. You don't want to be a jackass, which is probably why I don't have a sponsor anymore.
Me too.
But yeah, I mean, be nice, help people out. I mean, if you truly want to become a sponsored pilot, the key is learn as much as you can, have a true passion for it, and use the products. Don't contact a company and say, hey, will you sponsor me? And they look at like your social media profiles and you don't have one of their products that you're using, or you have a bunch of stupid posts, or you're bashing them or something like that. You have to be very careful and walk a very fine line, if that's the route you want to take in the RC industry. Wouldn't you agree, Lee?
Oh, definitely. That's probably why I'm not there anymore too. So.
Well, you're not there because of me.
Well, there you go.
When I went out in a blaze of glory.
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
Was I just collateral damage, or was I full on blow up?
I don't know, man. I guess it's because you like me or something. I don't know. But, it is what it is. We'll have more fun.
Exactly.
But the other thing is, if you're a sponsored pilot, you have to be true to your sponsors. And a lot of people have multiple sponsors, and that's a great thing. And, there's a layer to your sponsorship, you know. A prime example is Colton Clark, and I hate to throw him out there. I never talked to him saying I was going to throw this out there, but he's sponsored by Horizon, and he's also sponsored by I think it's Extreme Flight or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, one of the 3D aerobat companies, you know. So Horizon has 3D airplanes, and they have 3D airplanes, and he normally flies the Extreme Flight ones or whatever they are, I believe, but he's still using the Horizon equipment inside of it, you know, and he's also sponsored by DA, obviously, because he works for DA. So then he has a DA engine, and even though Horizon has engines and stuff like that, so, I mean, it's fine to do that, but you don't take on so many... Don't take on so many sponsorships that you can't keep everybody happy, because you know, they're paying you by giving you a discount or giving you products. You need to earn that by advertising for them and showing off their products, you know. And there's one, I'm going to bring up a post. I'm not going to mention any names. Some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about, but there was a post. There was a guy looking for a trainer, and somebody commented on it. They were a sponsored pilot, and they said, oh, if you want a good Balsa Trainer, look at the Alpha 40 or something like that. And now I don't know every single one of his sponsors, but I know one of his main sponsors has a trainer that's a Balsa Trainer, and why he would not have advertised for that sponsor completely blows my mind. And I'm sure that sponsor has no idea that it happened, but I mean, that's things you got to be careful of if you're doing stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, we do got a comment on the Facebook.
All right.
Jesse Napier, what's some of the planes you guys are currently working on, and also what's your guys' go-to radio? I don't know if you want to hold that off till Freedom of Information Act, or...
No, I'm going to talk about it right now.
Let's do it, buddy.
Actually, let me touch on one thing with the social media thing, and then we're done with that. We'll talk about that before we get into your toolbox thing. Another thing with the social media, find out who the sponsored pilots are. Because if you have a question and you're at home and you want to punch away on the keyboard and ask that question, those are the people to shoot those questions out to. You know what I'm saying? You know, Greg Wright is a sponsored pilot by Horizon. If I have a question, bam, I shoot him a Facebook message or something like that. If he can't answer it, he's a good enough guy that he's going to find the answer and get it back to you.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So
and if you go to fly-ins and stuff, I mean, you're gonna you always see guys in team shirts. You know, whether it be Horizon, Futaba, Balsa USA, you know, whoever. If you got a question about the product, go up and talk to one of the guys. You know, they're not there to intimidate you. They're there to support the product that they're selling.
Oh, yeah, and by all means, you guys can send us a message at the ChadLee After Hours podcast, RC podcast, whatever we call it, the ChadLee Show. Shoot us a message. Put it on our timeline. We'll find an answer for you. If we don't know it, I know plenty of people that can get you a proper answer. I'm not afraid to tell you if I don't know something.
And Jeremy Chrisman will eventually tell you the truth.
Yeah. I mean,
it might take a while. We might throw you under the bus a couple times, but what
a prime example of that is Steve Weaver, a guy from Germany. Him and Jeremy are buddies over there, you know. And I'm friends with them both on Facebook. And I designed the Smoothie XL for Balsa USA, and he's building it right now. And he ran into a problem where he has a DLE 35 in it, and the muffler was hitting the scoop of the cowl. Bear with me a second. I'm going to go grab it quick.
So anyway, while Chad's running away there, just ask people, you know, observe who's out there when you're at fly-ins and whatnot, in your surroundings.
All right, so
there you go.
Why does it look backwards? How the heck does that happen? Oh, I guess
the camera, buddy.
Anyway, so his muffler was coming up and hitting this part. You know what I'm saying? and he needed about a 1/4 inch more room. So I went through and I quickly made a tutorial for him, showing him how to mark a wedge out, cut it, and basically move it over. And I went through, took pictures, all that stuff, and got him a real good answer. And then I showed him one that I did earlier. You know, stuff like that. I'll post it on our website once I get it all done on the Facebook page and stuff, that little thing that I did for him. But, you know, by all means, ask us questions. Don't be afraid. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. We want to see you guys succeed in building and stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we enjoy helping you guys out, which is why we do this.
Exactly.
And it gives us a reason to get away from the wives and drink some beer.
Cheers, brother.
Hey.
Hey.
So
anyway, getting to Jesse's comment, I know on mine, I've been working on that quarter scale Jerry Bates P39. It's sadly, this is the 3rd winter I've been working on it, but
but you built some other stuff in between
of it. So as far as I know, I'm the first one to build all the way through to this stage anyway. Plus, I modified the plans for my own use.
Crazy modified the plans.
It is done up in electric.
Yeah, you did the whole drive shaft on the engine, and I mean, he's got a mid-engine with a remote start on it, and a drive shaft going out with a gear reduction too, so you can spin a scale prop, right?
Exactly. It'll be spinning a 32-inch 3-bladed solo prop, which I got to thank Patrick for, man, and he helped me out quite a bit on that. So
that's solo
he's been
props,
right there the whole time with it. And my buddy Jeff, he helped me with the gear drive and stuff, with going basically from conception to making it work. So I've got to give him a heads up on that. Thanks. And then also, I guess the other question you had too was what radios you guys go to radio.
Hey, do I not? Hey, Lee,
I basically been flying Futaba for my whole time. Stop! I see Chad stopping.
Do I not get to tell him what I'm working on?
Hell no!
Man.
It's all
Anyways,
about me.
I am working on a Newport 28, which is a contract build for somebody. I am working on, after that one gets 100% complete, I'll really get going on a Zeroli Panther that I'm building for another person, because apparently I don't like to build my own stuff. And then I'm also working on a Tri-Pacer that I'm hoping to turn into a kit. A lot of people are interested in that. That was a project I started with Balsa USA. Then after leaving there, I'm going to change some stuff on it. I have a whole new idea for how I want to do kits that I think people are going to love, and it's going to get people into building. The biggest thing I hate about kits is finding the parts, and I'm hoping to alleviate that issue. So we'll see what happens. And Lee said he flies Futaba. I'm going to get him to switch over from that because I'm a Spectrum guy.
There you go.
So I fly Spectrum. I swear by it. I don't know. I've flown it since, I don't know, 2005 or something like that. No, yeah, around there. Fairly close to when they first came out. I started flying Spectrum. I'm not going to get into why I fly it, but why I don't fly the others anymore. But I've flown Airtronics, I've flown Futaba. Now I'm a Spectrum guy. I like Spectrum best out of all of them. Programming seems to be easiest, stuff like that. So if you have any questions on Spectrum equipment or stuff like that, by all means, ask me. I'm a wealth of knowledge on that. Good friends with Pete Goldsmith also. So if I don't know the answer, I got contacts that I can get the answer straight from the developers and stuff at Horizon. So.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, so soon Leo will switch over. I already gave him one Spectrum radio, and I know he won another one. So.
Yeah.
I gave him some stuff to use.
We're slowly getting there.
We'll see what happens.
Well, you told me you took the other radio back, though.
Did I take the other one back?
Yeah, you took the other one back.
When you won your last one?
Yeah.
I'll give it back to you.
You did.
I said I will. If you want a 9
okay.
channel over an 8 channel.
There you go. I got the 8 channel. I won the 8 channel, so.
I tell you what, I had the 8 channel for a crap load of years. And then I got the 18 channel. Now I'm running the 20 channel. But yeah, so if you guys have questions, by all means, ask questions. Lee knows Futaba radio is pretty good. I know Spectrum radio is pretty good. You know, and I don't think Airtronics is really around. The only other ones out there, JR is kind of going out, and Jetty's coming in, which if you have questions on that, I do have a contact for Jetty Radios, Steve Thomas from Bob's Hobby Center down in St. Cloud, Florida.
There you go.
He flies those a lot. So yeah, I mean, I know people all over. Lee knows people all over. If you got questions, this is a great place to compile them all, and I will send them out to get them the proper answer that they deserve.
Yep, definitely.
So
we got a comment and a couple questions.
All right.
Came up on Facebook. Adam Klein says, yes, Spectrum is the best brand to fly, in my opinion. Airtronics is nice too. And then Brian Ship said, tell us about this gear drive. I'm assuming he's saying gear drive. Uh-oh.
Man, I want to comment to the Adam Klein thing with the Spectrum.
What's that?
I want to comment to the Adam Klein comment with the Spectrum. Right. You know, one nice thing about Spectrum is the value to cost, I think, is the best out there. I don't think you can get a better value. Are you watching on the Facebook page instead of your computer?
I'm watching everything.
Oh, that's probably why you can't see me flailing my arms around.
I was actually watching the Facebook page, and all of a sudden I see it in the Skype page.
Yeah, but you know, so for value per dollar, you know, Spectrum is by far the one out there. You know, and you're going to hear the whole, if there's ever a crash, look at what the radio it is. But also pay attention to how many Spectrum radios are out there, how many Futaba radios are out there, how many high-tech, how many JR, how many Airtronics. You know, I think Spectrum has probably close to 85% of the market share. So therefore, theoretically, 85% of the crashes should be on a Spectrum radio so that it's still an even playing field. You know, and I'm still a firm believer that 99% of the radio failure crashes is really operator error, whether it's a bad install, poor maintenance, they stall it so their control surfaces aren't working and they don't realize it's in a stall, you know, stuff like that. So
oh yeah, and I'm a prime example. I had an issue with my Raiden this year where I had issues
I think
with
I had a
my
picture
flap,
of it
you
in
know,
the
basically locked up on the mount itself, and so the servo out and burned it out. And I basically lost control because it burned the batteries, or burned the wires coming out of the servo.
Yeah, shorted out the batteries.
And I basically lost battery and lost airplane.
I don't think you can hear me when you're talking for some reason.
I can't hear you at all when I'm talking.
Yeah, because I keep trying to interrupt you, and if you're talking, it's like you don't even hear me. I wonder if it goes on the Facebook and all that stuff, my smart-ass comments while you're talking.
Oh, well, who cares?
So, all right, what was the next one after the Adam Klein one?
Well, Adam Klein, since then, he said, I agree with the statement, Chad. I still have my old DX6i, and I've never had an issue.
Oh, yeah, great radio.
Go ahead.
I said, oh, yeah, great radio.
Yep. So anyway, I'm getting thrown off, man, because I got a 30-second delay and then the Skype real time and whatnot, so it's really messing with my head right now. I need another drink.
It's fantastic. The best part is when I publish the podcast on Podbean and all that stuff, they're going to hear all these comments that I'm making while you're talking, and you have no clue I'm saying any of it.
Exactly.
So,
Tim Smith said we can hear you both talking at the same time.
What's that?
Jim Smith said we can hear you both talking at the same time.
Well, so they all hear me when I'm interrupting. I'm gonna wait for you to start rambling. I'm just gonna start talking shit about you.
Hey, whatever. Anyway, Brian Schiff wanted to know about the gear drive. You assume it's all gears, no belts. What's the reduction? And are you cutting your own parts? Brian, basically the gear drive is actually, sorry about that, moved around back my microphone here. The reduction drive is actually, it has 3 belts that's doing it. And basically it's like 1.75 to 1 on the gear reduction. It has a DLE 55 engine. So as far as the parts for the airplane, it was a short kit that I got from Bob Holman for the plane itself. The gear drive itself, reduction drive, if you will, was all designed and made by me. So it was a definite learning curve and whatnot. So, but I had fun.
Hey Lee, do you still have the video of when you started it and all that stuff?
Yes, I do.
We should get that loaded on the Facebook page.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, because I mean that shows the starting. It shows the belts. I mean, you did a real good video with that.
Yeah.
I think there was like a naked picture of a girl in the background or something.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's for Alan Hinton. Exactly. He says every time Lee says exactly, we're to take a drink. So we're gonna turn this into a drink game now.
I'm empty. Let me go.
Exactly. I'm all for that. So
best investment I ever made for my shop, right there. Just quiet.
There you go. There you go. That'll work.
All right. Exactly.
No, I got to say it.
Yeah. You know, everybody has their little word that they say. We had a guy complain one time about how many times Dave Lewis wrote "realize" in the instruction manual for a smoothie. He was a Canadian. And, I mean, he took the time to write us a letter and say that Dave put "realize" too many times in the manual. So we wrote him a letter right back and said, now realize.
If we realize that you realize, and we realize that we know. Nice.
Yeah, so everybody has their thing. I'm sure I have something that I do. Man, it all of a sudden seems like I talk really loud. I got to move this back a little bit. There. All right.
All right.
Any more comments or anything going on Facebook?
Nope, that's about it for right now.
All right. We still got people watching, eh? All right. Well, I think what we're going to do the in the toolbox, and we're going to do the safety, and then we're going to cut off the live Facebook feed. You guys will be able to catch the rest of the show after that. So let me get some stuff loaded up here.
Right.
And are you ready for your in the toolbox thing, Lee?
Why not? What the hell?
All right. Just a second. Let me turn up some volumes here and.
Oh,
That was wrong.
wrong one. Part 2.
It's amazing how much different this is doing it live versus when I just edit all this stuff in afterwards. All right, let's try this again.
Lee,
3, 2,
where you going?
1,
We're trying to do a show here. Oh, I guess it's time for In the Toolbox with Lee Watkins.
There you go.
All righty.
So anyway, this week in the toolbox here, we're kind of talking about building and whatnot. So the tool that I came up with is more of a consumable, but it is a tool. It's called C-Temp Material, SEETEMP.
Right now, Lee can't hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, shit.
Anyway,
And I'm still...
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Oh, sorry, I'll quit. Oh.
The distributor is Dynamic Balsa. One of our buddies, quite a few of the flying events that we go to, Brian Bicard owns Dynamic Balsa. And anyway, he does a great job. Basically, what the C-Temp is a clear plastic that, let's say you had a Zeroli plan or a Jerry Bates plan or whatever that has all the cutout pieces on the template or on the plans anyway. This way you can actually lay it right over the top of it, and you can either score it with an X-Acto knife or draw on it with a permanent marker, a ballpoint pen, what have you, and cut it out off the plans or whatever. But basically all you gotta do is score it with an X-Acto knife and then literally fold it against it and go like that and snap it out. I actually used it on my P-39 when I was building it for laying out all my cutouts in the bottom of my wing for my servo access, my landing gear rails, and cutouts for all that stuff. So once I had it all sheeted, fiberglass, I could go back in and cut it out, no problem, mark it out. So give them a try. We'll put a link up in our link section on the Facebook page. Like I said, it's Dynamic Balsa distributor, real great guy to deal with, and he's got all kinds of stuff. I don't know if he's in Lenore, Illinois. He's got a fantastic. I mean, it's an old time hobby shop kind of. I mean, sorry, Brian, there's crap everywhere. I mean,
have you been there, Lee?
You go upstairs.
Now he can't hear me.
All over the place.
He's a piece of crap.
Planes and whatnot. So and scale cockpits and whatnot. I see you talking, Chad, so whatever. So, anyway, that's what we got for In the Toolbox for this segment.
Have you been to Dynamic Balsa?
Yes, I have.
Did you know that they are now the owners of Pinkett, and if you need any Pinkett or stuff like that, Dynamic Balsa is the place to go?
Yes, the picking tape and stuff like that. It's
so,
awesome.
Make sure you guys go to if you need Pinkett.
And just so you know, Debbie Howe said...
he just keeps going.
Hi, guys, and that is very true.
Okay.
And then Jesse goes, oh, that sounds so much better, whatever, just turned off. So I don't know if your furnace was running or not, Chad.
Yeah. You guys want me to turn off my furnace? Man, I'm going to freeze out here.
It's all right. You got to give a little for the hobby, buddy.
Yeah. You guys should have said something earlier if it was... I didn't realize that you guys could hear it. Could you hear it, Lee?
I heard something in the background. I wasn't sure what it was, though.
Not
but then again, I'm trying to listen to two different things, too.
All right. I turned it off. I'll freeze the rest of the show. All right. So, let me go back over to the fancy-ancy switchboard over here.
Debbie says, how true about Dynamic Balsa?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't listening to what you said, but all right.
And she also said you sound very echoey.
I don't care what Debbie says.
Wow. I didn't say it, Debbie.
I'm just kidding, Debbie.
Your mother-in-law.
Yeah. I don't know. We got to get Debbie. You're listening, so you need to have John Hall, your husband, be part of our show sometime.
Yes.
So we'll have John call in. I'm working on getting it so that I can have people call in on my phone and I can put it in and patch in the sound and blah blah blah. But
we really need to know about the bowling ball
and cherries
up at Bottle Wax.
Happy birthday, John Cease.
Yes, happy birthday, John.
So, for all of you who have no clue what we're going on about right now, you need to come out to the events with us because this is where all this is coming from. We made a fake profile for John Howe
Yes.
A Tinder profile. Lee got a picture for him. He had some cherries in his drink, which apparently means the bartender's hitting on you. And he had some bartenders hitting on him, and it was a good time.
Awesome.
I made at where were we? Was it Goshen that I made the here's John Howe, and I did the zoom in on him.
Yes.
So all right, that's a whole nother day. But yeah, come out to the shows, have some fun with us. We have a blast. Now be quiet for a second, Lee, so that I can play this and get started on mine.
You know what that means. It's time for a safety tip from the ChadLee Show.
All right. What's a T mean?
Time out, safety meeting.
Oh, yeah, safety meeting, time out, whatever, yeah. Now,
Hey, wait, you know what this is, right?
hey, this is a family-orientated show. But Safety 101 with yours truly, Chad Osmus. Carbon
I know where this one's
monoxide.
going.
Carbon monoxide detectors, people. It is the building season. It's winter. We're running our heaters. We're getting yelled at because they're too loud. I know a buddy who tried killing himself because he didn't have a carbon monoxide detector, or at least I heard something about it on Facebook, so it's got to be true because we just went over how everything on Facebook is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're out in your shop working with a heater, whether it's an electric heater, it's a fuel oil heater or something of that sort, make sure you have a carbon monoxide detector so that you don't kill yourself while you're working on your airplanes. Yeah, that's it, man.
Wow.
Short and sweet.
Man.
All right.
Yeah.
So- Wow. We've been on live for an hour and 16 minutes.
I think we killed 5 people because we're down to 13 now.
Oh.
Crap. Sorry.
So there's a crap load of comments from Debbie Howe. She must have just been going crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't get a word in edgewise with you talking. So
Man. Yeah, I don't know.
Flicking
I
me
don't
off,
know why.
ass off,
Hey, I'm trying to talk, Lee. I don't know why. I don't know why I sound echoey. When I record just something and it's just me and I'm not going through the whole Skype thing, it sounds super crystal clear and nice. Like the Best Pilots thing I did and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that.
It sounds good on my my headphones anyway. I haven't tried the TV here in a while.
I don't know.
Well, I could.
We got another person watching. There's 24 comments, huh?
I guess you gotta turn the volume up too, huh?
That's not so bad. So, I guess he is flicking you off right now. John Howe was flicking me off?
Was it him or me?
I don't know. I'm guessing it was John. We were talking about his cherry story.
There you go.
Robert Abercrombie says sounds good there. That's a guy.
He wants to know what mic you're using.
Oh, I'm using the Yeti Blue mic.
And mine's Amstronics.
Yeah. Whoop. I don't know. It's not the mic. I think it's probably one of my mixing things when I put everything into the mixer, and I don't know how to work any of that stuff. I'm lucky I got this to work. I had to turn on everything so that we could get volume on Facebook. So we'll have to go through and figure out which one of these days works that, and I'll have to write it down, Lee.
Hey, Chad.
What?
Exactly.
Ah! So
Good stuff.
Oh, apparently Debbie Howe says he was flipping me off.
Ah, okay.
Oh, well,
And Tim said the volume is good with both of us.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I don't have any video, but I can see the comments come through. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a break. It's going to be a commercial for you guys and for the podcast. I'm going to throw in a plug for Lyle Vassar, so you guys don't have a problem with that. We're going to take a break. I have to use the restroom and need to get up and stretch my legs. Yeah. So if you guys want to watch the rest of the podcast, I guess not watch, but listen to, we're going to be posting that. I'll try and get that up by Monday. It probably won't take too long, seeing as I'm having all the stuff right in the recording, so I really don't have to edit anything in for this first portion. Jesse says, yeah, because that mic is one of the best. So, I don't know. But yeah, so check us out. Make sure you guys tell your friends about the ChadLee page, have them follow it, stuff like that. I will put this video on YouTube, so you guys can watch it later on YouTube. You don't have to do it on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You can send other people to it, and we can, do our thing. So, yeah.
And if you haven't seen or haven't heard our other podcasts, go ahead and check us out. We're on iTunes, Podbean. What else are we on?
Google Play Podcast or Google Play Music. You can find us on there. All right. I believe we're on Podcast Addicts or something like that. It's called. I don't know. I linked us up to a bunch of them. I don't even know. The best one to go to is Podbean, I think. I like that one the best. iTunes works really good. Google Play, those are the three big ones. But we also do have a website, and if you click our button, it's like Learn More or something like that. It will take you straight to the website, and you can get them all on there also. I am going to put them on YouTube. I haven't gotten the second one up. I forgot about that, the YouTube thing. So I'll get both of them put up on the YouTube also. So you can watch us there. Subscribe to our YouTube. We'll make some how-to videos, stuff like that. Let me unclick that. Let me do this.
Hi, everybody.
Sounds good, man.
Chad Osmus here from the ChadLee Show. I want to talk to you a minute about the most historically accurate, lifelike pilots in the RC hobby. Best pilots are the pilots of our choice, so accurate they are displayed in some of the world's premier aviation museums. Lyle Vassar of Best Pilot produces hand-sculpted and molded figures approximately 1/5 scale in size. Each pilot is a reproduction of actual World War II pilots, including U.S. Marine Corps Pappy Boyington, U.S. Army Air Corps Bob Sweeney, Royal Air Force Sailor Milan, German ace Gunther Rahl, and Japanese ace Saburo Sakai. Vassar also offers a quarter-scale World War I German ace Lothar van Richthofen and generic 1/8 scale bomber crew figures. Unlike cloth dolly-type pilots, Best Pilots are cast in resin for a more scale appearance of flight gear. And also, unlike dolly pilots, Best Pilots are sculpted in realistic, seated postures and will stay that way no matter how grueling the mission. Prices range from $65 unpainted to $235 painted for 5th scale and $95 unpainted to $235 painted for quarter scale. Also, Best Pilots can be turned into personal versions of yourself. Using a 3D printed face matched to photos that you provide, these amazing mini-me's are truly the ultimate final touch for anyone's scale airplane. Available painted or unpainted, email lylevassar@typepad.com for pricing. Don't fly with dolls, fly with Best Pilots. Go to www.bestpilots.typepad.com to order, and make sure you join Best Pilots on Facebook.
All right, guys, we're back. I hope you check out Best Pilots, see what Lyle Vassar has to offer at his website. We'll make sure we put a link in the description. So now it's time for scratch builds, kits, and ARFs.
Definitely.
Why not exactly? I wanted something to drink.
Well, exactly then.
All right, drink time. For those of you that didn't know, we did a Facebook feed. I streamed our podcast, so the first half of it, to Facebook so that everybody could check it out there. That was fun.
Well, one of the comments was every time I say exactly, we got to take a drink.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I've had a lot to drink.
There you go.
So yeah, now this is just a recorded thing. Not going to be on Facebook. You can check the other thing out on YouTube if you want. We'll post it up there also. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. I do the whole social media thing, but I have to edit that because it seems like every soundbite I did for this in the very beginning, we've been having to change because of everything. But whatever.
Yeah. It's evolving.
So yeah, we had one of the topics that was suggested back in the very beginning when I asked for topics was scratch builds, kits, and ARFs. When should you scratch build something? When should you build a kit? When should you put an ARF together? And they all have their place, and they all are good for something, you know. And they all also have cons that go along with it. So, wouldn't you agree, Lee?
Oh, definitely. There's so many things. Obviously, a scratch build is going to take you a lot longer than a kit build versus an ARF build. You know, an ARF build, you know, like when we had Joe here, you know, that was the plane come out of the box 3/4 of the way done. So
I gotta turn the buzzing down. I just had a bing. And
yeah, I heard it too. So
yeah, that's because I forgot to turn the gain down on the. It's all right. One little bing ain't gonna hurt anything.
Are you winning solitaire?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, did you not look at any of the show notes? Because I have a whole outline of the order I wanted to take this stuff.
Oh,
and
I do.
you just start rattling off your own shit, whatever you want.
Hey, exactly.
Oh man, it's gonna be a long night.
Oh boy. I apologize in advance. But
I take this show seriously, Lee, and I make these notes. I mean, I've got 3 pages of notes. The last 2 shows, I've had 3 pages of notes outlining the whole show.
No smoke. Who cares?
And Lee just does his own thing, whatever the hell he wants to do.
That's right.
All right.
That's what makes me me.
So what we're going to do is, I got it in the order of most time consuming, or I should say least time consuming to most time consuming.
Yep.
So first thing we're going to talk about is the ARFs. And I kind of put in the whole binding flies and ready to flies, all that I'm grouping in with the ARFs.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know. You didn't have a whole lot of time to probably look at these notes because, like you mentioned earlier, you have a full-time job and I have no job.
Yeah, there you go. I kind of went over them. I kind of know what we're talking about here.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I got pros and cons of each thing. I'm sure as we're going through them, we're going to think of other things, and we'll probably go off on tangents because that's what we do.
Oh heck yeah!
All right, so. Let's go over the pros of the ARFs and binding flies and ready to flies. I think we'll just go through every other one. I'll do one, you do one. Sound good to you?
All right. Sounds great to me, man.
All right. And we'll kind of explain it a little bit. Now, Lee probably has no idea because I just write little notes. I don't write a whole paragraph or anything, but for the first one, I'll go for the first one. I have quick plane. It's, you know, an ARF is a quick thing to put together. Actually, I'm just going to start rambling. If you're in the middle of the season and you crash your airplane, you know, it's something that'll get you in the air quick again. Lee and I both go to giant scale events. You have to have a giant scale plane. So you can't take anything under 80-inch monoplane, 60-inch biplane, or true quarter scale to these events.
Yeah.
And it's not just anything, you know. It has to be a warbird or a classic, and depending on the event is dependent on the year of the classic, which it gets really confusing. But basically, if you look at the last 20 years, if the plane's 20 years old or more, it's considered a classic for the most events. But yeah, and then warbirds. So if you know, you have a lot of people don't have a crap load of giant scale planes, or some people like to crash every plane that they own, rightly. And
yes, I do.
and an ARF will get you back in the air quick, so you can continue going to the events for the rest of the summer.
until you crash that one.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean that's a great way to use an ARF, you know, for like
definitely.
Lee and I, the experienced person that's been in the modeling industry for a while.
Oh, for sure. You know, it's a week to build, if that. You know, if you're taking your time doing everything like you really should be doing and whatnot. I've assembled an ARF in, you know, as low as, you know, 2 days, you know, evenings or whatever. So if I had to, I haven't really assembled an ARF, you know, since, well, I rebuilt one that was given to me, and that one sadly went in, but it was just a cool subject, and I didn't have time to build one, so there, you know, it worked out good.
Yeah, and you know, there's people that go crazy with the ARFs too. I've been watching one, Robert Bowen, whatever he goes. We call him Bob. You know, we know him. But he's doing that Lysander from Phoenix or whatever it is. You know, the one that you flew Scott's twice, and both times right after you handed it back to him, he's crashed it.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah,
Needless to say, don't let Lee fly your airplane.
Well, no, just don't let me hand it back to you.
Yeah, that's true. Let him land it for you.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Well, now I believe Bob Bowen's is the Phoenix models, and I believe the Scott's was the Seagull.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're both made by the same people, I think.
Yeah, they both seem to fly really good.
Yeah.
The one I was flying with Scott, you know, it flew great. I mean, I can't fault it for the flying abilities of it. You know, it does what it does.
Wow, was that loud or what?
Exactly.
I gotta grab another beer. I just finished one.
Damn it.
It's a good thing I installed this refrigerator. Granted, it takes up half of my workbench, but it's well worth it.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Does that come through pretty good or what?
Not bad.
We're gonna have to make a soundbite of a beer opening.
Oh, heck yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so you can really take an ARF to the next level too, which at that point it starts becoming more than an ARF. You know, I've taken a lot of ARFs and stripped them down and redone them. You know, that's fun to do too. For something quick, you know, if you get your winter build done and you still got a couple of months left, you know, you can quick slam something together.
Yep, definitely. And make it your own too. You know, to me, there's nothing worse than showing up to a field where there's 4 or 5 other people that have the exact same airplane as you. You know, even if you just do weathering on it, or you do a full fiberglass, you know, strip off all the covering, sheet it, fiberglass it, paint it up to make it whatever you want, make it, you know, totally scale or what have you. But yeah, it's a quick and dirty way to get into the air. All the building's pretty much done for you. All the thinking's done for you. It's basically just throwing your equipment in there and going to town on it. It gets you in the air quick, and you can tear up the skies with it. So, and they're starting to come out with a lot of different styles, and they're starting to come out with a lot more scale airplanes than what they have been in the past, where it's mostly been, edges and caps and stuff like that. And exactly. That's what I'm talking about. And just so you know, I had to do a little fill-in job there so Chad could go take a piss.
Yeah, they kind of left you hanging. What did you talk about? Any of the more pros?
Yeah, I did.
Did you talk about tearing up the skies?
Yeah, I tore up the skies a little bit on that. So.
Did you talk about not having
to
the same?
I started talking about the sport planes a little bit. You know how it used to be kind of much. You know, the ARFs were the caps and the extras, and mostly sport 3D airplanes. Now they're starting to come out with more scale airplanes and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and that's a prime example of, and you may have said it, but I'm going to just say it again if you did. But like the 3D guys and the aerobac guys, they go through them like crazy. They don't want to put a year into building something that they are running the risk of crashing every single time they start up the engine because of the crazy shit that they do so low to the ground. I mean, one mistake or one engine out and their plane's done, they have no room to save anything.
Exactly.
So that's a pro for an ARF, and just something, I don't like to spend a lot of time building my sport planes and something that I'm just going to tear up the skies and beat the heck out of. So that's a great place for an ARF also, and I do that a lot. So yeah, indoor flying is another thing. The little foamies, the ones that we've learned that I can't buy because they only last for a day before I destroy them.
When did they go to a day? It was pretty much just hours.
I mean, it takes like an hour to charge the batteries.
Okay, well, you have that. I remember a Wildcat that somebody had that lasted maybe like 20 minutes, if that.
I took out 2 of them super quick, didn't I? That's because you said, hey, I bet you can't land on the tent. And I landed on the tent, only it was the wrong side of the tent, so I couldn't see it, and flew it straight into a sound trailer.
That was cool, though.
And then we took those planes to Rhinebeck, and Joe and I were flying them, and we're trying to fly them through the wires. And I probably shouldn't be saying this because AMA is going to frown on it, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of, oh, you guys are bad, because that's what happens. But we were trying to fly through the wires, and I found out that my flying skills through the wires and possibly interference when you fly between high tension wires. And the plane just does its own thing.
Have you ever wondered why it really hummed when it's really wet out, like a foggy day?
Oh yeah,
when you're on high tension lines.
Yep. So that's the pros of ours. Now let's talk about the cons. Did you talk about any of the cons?
No, I didn't.
All right, so you want to talk about those for a bit?
One thing I want to say around the get-go, Top Flight puts out a great product and everything. I'm not bashing them. But if I see another Top Flight Tar Heel Hell...
I want to say that right now, any of these cons that we're saying, we're not trying to get you to go away from something. We're not trying to say that a scratch build or a kit is better than something else, or an ARF is better. You ask the questions. We're just giving you some pros and cons of each one, trying to be as non-biased as possible. So yeah, take it as you want it. This is our opinions. It's not everybody's opinion. Some people don't like building. We enjoy building. That's the point of this show. So, all right, continue on. That's our disclaimer.
Right. Legal notice over.
Exactly. You guys are going to get sick of that word by the end of the night, and it's probably going to come out more and more as the night goes on.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've only been doing this show for 2 hours now for us. It's probably only about an hour's worth of show for you guys. Yeah.
Anyway, as I was saying, Top Flight puts out a really good product and whatnot. And me personally, if I never see another Top Flight P-47 Giant Scale Tar Heel Hell, I would be happy.
But you will.
I'm not bashing the airplane. I'm just, it flies so good that people get away with so much with it. It's almost sad because it's not a true warbird, if you will, the way it flies. It flies more like a cap or an extra that's so lightly loaded that they can get away with a lot more. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Chad.
Oh, yeah, I've been commenting as you're talking, but you can't hear me when you're talking, which is fantastic, because I just say whatever I want about you. But, yeah, I agree.
There you go.
They fly more like a trainer than they do a warbird. I mean,
Yes.
you can bring it in, you can slow it down, you can have it on stall your whole final, and, I mean, it just kind of falls to the ground and, nothing happens. It's crazy. But, that's... At the same time, you go to the flying field, and I mean, any given event, I can see 5 Tar Heel Hales there. To me, that doesn't give me any kind of a pride. There's not as much pride when I personally build an ARF or assemble an ARF and take that to the field as when I have my scratch build or my kit build that I take there.
Hey, for sure. That's one of the things. I know Ronnie Coleman, he's local 16-year-old by us. He's had a Tar Heel Hale.
Yep. He's redoing it right now.
Yeah. I hear you, Chad.
Did you? I said he's redoing it right now.
Anyway, he's
you'll find out when you listen back on the podcast.
Don't screw out with me. I hear you.
He thinks I'm saying something bad about him, but I'm not.
I'm waiting for it. But anyway, he's doing a good job. He built his first scratch build kit, which was a Zeroli Stuka and whatnot.
I can't see your thumb.
Yeah, he's taking it to the next level, taking that great flying airplane, and he's gonna redo it into a, I believe it's Tuskegee Air Colors.
Yeah, he's doing a Razorback with it.
Are you videoing the video of the video?
No, I was just covering up my mouth so you couldn't see when I was talking shit about you.
Whatever.
He's doing a Razorback out of it, right?
Yes, he is. He's converting it over to a Razorback and whatnot.
I've been watching it. Maybe we'll
do it all fiberglass, and then he'll paint it in latex.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shoot him a message and ask him if he can send us some photos so we can put those up on our page, Facebook page.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Give you an example of what you can do with an ARF.
Huh?
I said it'll give you an example of what you can do with an ARF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'd ask another buddy of ours, but I don't know. He seems upset with me at the moment, so I might not get anything out of him.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Awkward
I'm waiting
silence.
for you to say
I'll
something
cut that
every time
out.
I talk.
I'll cut out the awkward silence. You guys will have no idea what I'm talking about, this awkward silence, but there's a minute of nothing, just Lee and I staring at each other. All right. One more thing I want to talk about with the cons is, I'm going to put the cost per hour. It is definitely the highest cost per hour of the modeling industry. You spend a couple of $1,000s for a couple of days worth of work. And in my opinion, building the plane is just as much fun and value for my money at the same time. So the ARFs have the highest cost per hour to put together. Hours of enjoyment, unless you don't like building, then you don't care about how long it takes you to put it together.
Exactly. Another thing I've seen too in recent years is somebody buys an ARF and they basically gotta strip the covering, go back through and re-glue all the joints because they don't trust the glue joints, they don't trust the firewall, they don't trust landing gear, so they're basically rebuilding an ARF that they spend all this money for. Why not just build an airplane and build that stuff into it as you build,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's because they don't like cutting stuff like that. I mean, to go in and just glue it back together, add some extra glue here and there, some extra fillets, is a lot easier than building the whole thing too. So I mean, I can kind of see, but yeah, I agree with it. You spend all this money, it should be done right. But I guess at the same time, that's why ARFs, you can get an ARF for almost just a little bit more than what the actual kit cost. It costs you a lot more to build a kit or a scratch build than it does to build an ARF. And that's because the quality of the kit in the scratch build is going to be way better than the quality of an ARF. I don't care what ARF it is. You never get the same thing out of it.
And I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where people are overpowering the airframes.
Yeah.
So the plane calls for a 40cc engine, and they're putting an 85 in it and firewalling the thing on takeoff and whatnot. Yeah, you're overstressing the airframe, and you're gonna, something's got to give. What
I know
it
a
is,
guy.
we don't know.
I know a guy who put a DA85 in the Balsa USA quarter scale D7.
Oh my God.
They called it the rocket. He had to make aluminum ribs where the end struts come to, the interplane struts are, because he was tearing them out so easily.
Well, I wonder why.
Yeah, it was fun to watch it. And some of you people that listen to the show are going to know exactly who I'm talking about. I'll tell you after we're done. I'll tell you who it was. That guy's a character, let me tell you.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, I love seeing destruction and shit. That's why every once in a while I'll go on YouTube and watch the crazy Russian drivers. Just driving with dash cams on. They're crashing into everything, and whatever they crash into, it doesn't faze them. They just keep on going.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting a dash cam, a forward and a rear dash cam that records both ways.
Me too.
Just because, I hear all these stories, and on one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy talked about how he got rear-ended. And the guy drove off, and his insurance company, he lives in California, and I'm probably getting some details wrong on this, but basically it comes down to his insurance company told him that as if they don't, if it's a hit and run, the police won't do anything about it. So I guess if you're in California, smash into a dude and take off.
Yeah,
I mean,
shit.
Man, it's terrible that it's come to this. So I'm thinking about getting cameras. I mean, I go to enough stuff. I drive enough miles that I think it would be worth it. Just because I've had so many close calls because of idiots, and if one of those actually ever happens, I can at least prove that it's not my fault, hopefully, and my insurance won't go crazy.
Oh, definitely. A few years ago, I was over here by me, middle of winter. There was a Taco Bell, and the guy was pulling out of there, and it snowed pretty good. And I was in an old minivan. It didn't really matter too much, but he slid out of the parking lot into me. So I pulled over the side. The only thing he did was break my tail light. It was no big deal, but he took off the other way. Yeah. Well, I was going to go pick up my wife, so I continued on to go pick up my wife. I wasn't going to hold up everything. I got back home and I called the cops to find out, about what to do about a hit and run. They go, well, if you left the scene, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I guess that's the world that we live in now. So, whatever.
Exactly. A dash cam might have helped on that, but it probably wouldn't have because I wouldn't have seen his license plate number anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
All right. We got way the hell off topic on that one.
Yeah, we did. I had to turn you up a bit because I could barely hear you in my earphones, so I turned you up on mine. No, don't fix anything on your end. I just turned up my headphones.
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, fucking fantastic. So, all right. We got off on a little tangent there, and I'd say we aren't going to do it again, but we probably will. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the ARFs and dash cams. So now let's go over kits, the pros and cons of kits.
The dash cams wasn't in my notes here that you provided me.
I know. I'm sorry, man. So pros of kits.
Never mind.
One one pro of the kit is you get an instruction manual with the kit that with the scratch build you don't necessarily get. And I know you get one with an ARF, but I mean against doing a scratch build, normally you don't get an instruction manual with the scratch build, and you do with the kit.
Yep. Some of the kits, the instructions are very vague too.
Yes. I can guarantee you that if you have a kit that I wrote the instruction manual on, i.e. the Balsa USA Yunkers, the Smoothie XL, I don't know what they're doing with the one that I was working on when I was let go, but I wrote a portion of that. I'm sure they'll continue on with that. But those are going to be very well written. I have a picture with every step, and I mean, you glue one piece of wood, that's one step. There's never multiple things to do in one step. So they're getting there. Top Flight, I mean, they went crazy with making the manuals up to where they are today. They set the industry standard because they have such excellent manuals with their gold edition Warbirds.
Oh, definitely. That was one of my first kits, and that was one of my very first kits that I screwed up. Oh my God, not again, Chad. Oh, this is pathetic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Chad Osmus cannot hold his liquor. This is like the fourth time he's gone to take a leak. And I have yet to leave the table yet. Anyway, Top Flight has done an awesome job as far as, like Chad said, the instruction manuals, their kits and whatnot. Basically, it's step by step by step by step. You just do one and you mark it off and you go to the next, and you don't have to go back to something that you thought you may have done, may not done. So they did a very good job on it. The pre-cut parts are awesome on that. Oh, hi, Chad.
I heard you saying something about me as I walked away.
No, I'd never say anything like that, dude.
All right, where you at?
I was just starting to touch on the pre-cut parts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you get pre-cut parts with a kit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and die cut, laser cut, I don't mind either one. Some people refuse to build a die cut kit. I can't promise you one thing because I know, and it is what it is, but Balsa USA, if you have a die cut part that's not cut properly, contact them. They will get you the proper parts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don't worry about building a die cut thing, laser cut, as long as it's done properly, it's pretty good. Minimal char, stuff like that.
Exactly. And even with the Balsa USA stuff, I built a few kits of them that you would here we go, Chad, blow baby, blow. Anyway, a lot of times all you'd have to do if you had a die cut piece that would not come out, if you would sand on the back side of where the die cut went through, you could actually sand through where it didn't die cut, and the part would actually fall out.
I agree.
So 9 times out of 10 anyway. I've had a couple that it took a little effort to get them out, but it's not that big of a deal.
And it sucks, but it is what it is.
Yep.
The other advantage with a kit is you get all the wood. Wow, I just smacked my lips really hard. Did you hear that?
Oh, yes, I did.
Sorry about that, guys. But you get all the parts that...
You sound like one of my ex-girlfriends.
Yeah. It's a family show.
Wait, did I say that out loud? Damn it. All right.
But, you get you get all the wood that you need, all the sticks, all the sheet wood, stuff like that. So most kits are super complete. A lot of the kits come with the hardware. I mean, you can get kits anywhere from where you get just basically the wood all the way up to you get fuel tanks and push rods and wheels and all that stuff that you need. So So yeah, there's a bunch of different levels. Make sure you look into what you're actually getting and keep that in mind. The more you can buy in a kit, and the price of the kit's going to go up, but you're going to actually save money in the long run when you buy that stuff all separately.
Oh, sure. The manufacturer, when they're buying, when you're buying bulk, you're going to save more money. So when the manufacturer is actually buying, let's say, $300 or 300 kits worth of material, they're going to get a little bit of savings on that.
Oh yeah.
Sooner or later, that's going to get passed on down to you, where you're going to go in and buy, 4 bolts for $2.50 at a hobby shop or whatever, where it may be included in that kit. I'm not discouraging you from going to your local hobby shop. Definitely, I want you to go there because they're the ones that you break a prop on a Friday night, you can have another prop Saturday morning and go flying again.
You can have another prop Friday night and go flying again at your local hobby store.
I see your lips move, but I don't hear a word you're saying, Chad.
Well, they heard me, and that's all that matters.
And I still don't.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Nothing.
Wow, I can hear you. Did you hit the mute button or something?
No, I didn't hit anything. Now I'm starting to hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter anyways. So... the other pro is you buy a kit and you got a winter build. Everybody has a building season, whether it's in the winter or it's in the summer, depending on where you live in the United States or outside the United States, because we actually get quite a few listeners from outside the United States. I don't know if you knew that, Lee, but there's it's close to like 25% of our listeners are outside the United States, so you know.
That's just because they don't know us.
Well, whatever. Yeah, I mean.
Exactly.
So, but that gives you a winter build, and that's.
I didn't see you take a drink.
Oh yeah. But that going back to the cost per hour, you're starting to get a better value of money per hour spent, and I always tell people, they say, oh, that kit's like $400, $500, $600, and I said, yeah, well, how many hours of enjoyment is that going to get you? Or they'll say, what happens if it crashes on the first flight? And I'll say, how many hours of enjoyment do you get building it before you even get to that first flight? If it takes you 150 hours and it's a $300 kit, I mean, that's chump change. Look at how much it costs per hour to go to watch a movie at a movie theater, or even rent one off of Amazon Prime or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure. That's it's amazing the cost savings on that.
Yeah, the amount of money per hour starts to get so small when you start building kits versus ARFs and stuff like that. And it actually is, when you break it down, it's, what's that mean? Oh, Lee can't hear me again. But, yeah, when you break it down, it actually comes off good. Whatever. I'll just go without them.
Whatever.
So, hey, do you have like a heater? Do you have like a heater or a fan or something going?
I have nothing going.
Because when you can't hear me, I get a lot of static on your end. And I'm assuming it's that your microphone's picking up and you can't, it's not letting you hear me then. So, but
I have absolutely nothing running right now.
Yeah, right now I'm starting to get a little bit of a, now it's gone back down again. But anyways, so we'll just keep going on.
All right.
But, yeah. So yeah, that now the cons of building a kit, and I tell you what, this is the hardest thing I have with building a kit, is finding the right piece that you need for it. A lot of times the kits will say, find the 3/8 by 5/8 by 6-inch piece, and if you don't use that exact piece, you're screwed later on in the build because you've used the wrong one and now you got a piece that's too short, something like that. You know what I'm saying, Lee?
Yeah, then you got to go source that piece out, or buy another stick or contact the manufacturer and say, hey, I screwed up. Well, most people don't say that. They go, hey, it was never included in the kit.
Yeah, but now Lee probably can't hear me because he's got a lot of static again. But if you buy a brand new kit and you got a crap load of wood in it, and you you got a crap load of wood in it when you first start, it's hard to find the right piece right away until you get further along in the kit, stuff like that. I know Pete Goldsmith is making some kits, and I believe Jack Stafford Models, from what I hear, does the same thing too, and I'm going to start doing it if I make a kit. But if you're building a stab, there's going to be a bundle of sticks, and that's going to be the wood for your stab, and it's going to be labeled that this is the wood for the stab. So you grab that bundle out, you got all the pieces that you need. You don't have to go through searching for a million little pieces. And a lot of the big box kit companies can't do that because it takes a crap load of time, whereas I don't care if I make a crap load of money. I'm just here trying to provide a kit for you, which at the same time is ruining the big box companies because it's hard for them to compete. But I mean, we're all out to have a good time, and there's a bunch of people that are willing to do it. Why not take advantage of it? Can you hear me, Lee?
Yes, I can.
All right, yeah.
And one little tip I'll give the guys that are going to be doing the kit building and the scratch building and stuff like that. One of my most valuable tools that's came up in the last, probably 3 or 4 years has been a digital micrometer.
Oh yeah.
And basically, what you want to do, get yourself a digital micrometer and print yourself off a fraction of decimal chart. What the hell is that, Chad? That doesn't even look like alcohol. Chad's looking out on me.
No.
But anyway, give yourself a decimal to fraction or a fraction to decimal conversion chart. When you get ready to go, a lot of people aren't comfortable with going or trying to pick out a 3/32 sheet versus a 5/16 or 3/8 or 1/8 inch or whatever. The sizes scare them. If you got that, you can wait. What? Time out on the play.
I just want to touch base on something. National Balsa, and I will try and find it on their website and put up a link, but they have a laser cut thing that they make, and it's basically like a business card, and it has all the different sizes, a notch lasered out. So you have like your 1/32 notch, your 1/16, your 3/32, your 1/8 inch, your 3/16, your 1/4 inch. All that is laser cut notched in, so you can just slide that over. If it fits and fits good, you're good. If it doesn't fit, it's the wrong size. So that's a real good tool. I'll try and get a link. Let me make a note of that link.
Yeah. Another one that has that too is a Midwest square. It's a small one, and it's a plastic square that actually has notches cut into it for that. Now, some of the kits, they do have oddball sizes that they use and whatnot, so that's where you may fall back into micrometer. But I tell you what, I've used it for more than one thing. It's amazing the things that you find uses for it for. So
oh yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, I love it.
It's a staple for the workshop. It really is. So I have one too. Yeah.
Yeah. I use it all the time.
All right.
All right.
Let's move on.
I guess the next one is you may not have exactly what you want.
You know what that means, Lee? Or are you just reading off my notes?
I was reading off your damn notes here.
No, it's basically what I was reminding myself there is, say you want to build a P39. Is there a P39 kit out there? Probably not, and not that I've seen. is if you want to build a Grumman duck. I wanted to build a Grumman duck, That's all the stuff where you have to start getting into scratch building. You get the super common planes that everybody wants, and that's what they're going to make kits of because people have to sell them, You're always going to find a J3 kit. You're always going to find a Mustang kit, a Corsair kit, a Camel kit, a Pup kit. Yep. Yeah. Those are super common ones, but now you want to start getting into like the Razorback model. You may not find a P47 Razorback where it may just be the bubble canopy, stuff like that. So you get more options when you get out of the kit realm and get more into the scale building realm. The other con is if you don't have a lot of time, it takes time to build a kit. That's just the nature of the beast. If you don't have time to put something together, that's when you go for the ARF.
Oh, for sure. And one thing, especially with a kit or any build. Oh my God, not again, Chad. Folks, please time this. Anyway, the best thing that I know me and my buddies have tried over the years, try to do a little something every night if you can. I know, even myself, there's several times that I cannot do anything during the week. Just because basically when I leave for work in the morning, by the time I get home, 12 hours has passed. And by the time I eat dinner and take a shower and whatnot, and sit down and relax for a few minutes, next thing I know, I'm falling asleep on the couch or whatever. But if you can, spend a half hour, 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, a little bit of time actually makes a big difference in the long run. I like to do, where I work at, if it's snowing really, really super hard and whatnot, our shop won't put trucks on the road, and I consider, instead of me going to work that day, I consider that my shop time, and I actually go to work in the shop, and I'll do a marathon workout, where it might be 8, 10, 12 hours, 14 hours or whatever, just building.
I've been doing that every day lately.
What's that, bud?
I've been doing that every day lately.
I imagine that. Hey, can I ship you some stuff so you can catch me up?
I got plenty of stuff to build, man. Trust me.
There you go.
Did you move on to scratch builds yet?
Not yet. I was just, talking about time, how, if you can, give a little bit of time every day to it, the project moves along quite rapidly.
Oh, yeah. And
the other thing I can say about a kit and scratch build.
He can't hear me because he just does his own thing.
I do.
I was just going to say, it's worth the time because you get a lot more pride when you go out to the flying field with it as opposed to an ARF. And I don't care what anybody says. Everybody looks up to the people that build kits and scratch build versus the people that put together ARFs.
Oh, it is for sure, I've run air supremacy over Elkhart and air supremacy over Goshen. I perk up when I see somebody that shows up with something that's been totally scratch built. You never seen one before. Cheers, buddy. Exactly. That's for the players at home.
All right, let's move on to scratch builds.
All right.
So that we don't have like a 10-hour long podcast.
There you go.
Let's talk about the pros of scratch build. You have the best selection of models. I touched on this a little bit with the kits where you're limited on the models that you have. You have the best selection of models out there if you're scratch building. And if you can learn to draw your own stuff, the sky's the limit, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Normally,
if you only do what's available to you, you're stuck with what they design, what they like to design, and whatnot. I'm not quite to the point of designing my own stuff. Not that I haven't tried and whatnot. Chad has been much more of a designer than I have. where he's actually completed models and stuff like that. I feel comfortable that I could probably do that, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, well, and it all comes down to what you're into. At that point, you're getting into what interests you more in a hobby. To me, designing an airplane is a huge interest for me, whereas Lee is more of he wants to figure out the mechanics. He wants to figure out how he can make the wings fold up, how he can make the landing gear work as scale as possible, how he can make a scale tail hook that comes out and, it doesn't just look the part, but it actually functions. That's more what Lee's into, whereas I'm into more designing the airframes and stuff like that. So when you get into scratch building, you start to find that niche of what really piques your interest, and that's where you gravitate towards most.
Exactly. And everybody has their own little section. Me and Chad talked about this earlier. Some guys love electronics. I'm dabbling in that myself, but as far as having all the high tech, not the brand high tech, but all the high tech accessories, sensors and telemetry and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what's happening, when it's happening, and how it's happening.
Yeah. Well, and a prime example
there's
is
so many parts of this hobby.
Hey. A prime example is
exactly.
Lee with his reduction drive that he built for his P-39. I mean, that would have been I would have never done that because that doesn't interest me, but that is exactly where Lee's at. And he designed one, built one, with some help of some other people, I'm sure, too. The guy bought a freaking lathe so that he could make the stuff that he wanted. He bought a mill so he could make the stuff that he wanted. That's a whole nother area where Lee's buying mills and lathes. I'm wanting to buy laser cutters, where Lee's buying 3D printers and stuff like that. I'm buying the equipment to mass produce stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's a different area of where we're at, and that's the beauty. You get a bunch of buddies in the hobby. When I need something mechanically figured out, I go to Lee. That's the guy that I rely on when I need landing gear or something figured out. If my landing gear isn't working properly, I can show Lee, and Lee can tell me exactly what I can do to fix that. That's his expertise.
Yeah. Well, it's so many different hobbies all rolled into one.
Yep.
Too.
Definitely.
This P-39, I have learned more on working on this P-39 than any other airplane I've ever worked on before. I'm starting to design electronics so that I can get real-time telemetry on my own without having, I'm not relying on Spectrum or Futaba or anybody else. I'm relying on my own ability to make my own telemetry.
But you don't have to do that because Spectrum has stuff already.
Yeah, but how do you learn how it's done?
I don't care about that. I just need the information. Tell me what my battery voltage is. Tell me what my RPM is. Tell me what my engine temp is. I'm set.
All right. On my gear drive, I want to know what my engine RPM is. I want to know what my reduction drive RPM is. I want to know what my engine temperature is. I want to know what my incoming air is. I want to know what my exhaust air is. Will Spectrum tell me all that?
I don't give a shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's so much more than just just your basic flight stuff.
Yeah, and it's all what you want to get out of it. There's people that try to fit everything electronically in their plane as they can. And we're getting off on another tangent. Let's reel it back in and get back to the pros of scratch building.
All right.
Sorry. It's going to be a long podcast. I apologize in advance. We haven't even gotten to the questions yet. But
wait, Chad. Exactly.
Yeah. So, normally a scratch build is going to be more scale. People do more scale outlines. They're not when somebody builds a kit, they may shorten the wingspan or change something so that it fits a 3-inch wide piece of wood, or it fits into a certain size box, or it fits one of their stock sizes. And that's very common, and they have to do that so that they can make things practically priced. Whereas a scratch build, the designer of the plans doesn't worry about that stuff. He just designs the plane so that it scales. So you normally get a more scale airplane out of a scratch build versus a kit or an ARF.
For sure. And, I'm just going to throw out there a Spitfire. There were so many different marks of a Spitfire that, designers usually only do 1 or 2 different marks of a Spitfire. So if you want a specific, let's say a Mark, 14 or whatever, there's not very many people that are going to design and build a kit for a Spitfire Mark 14 or whatever. So you go to that point, you modify it to that particular one. So you definitely, the scale outlines are there.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing is, I brought up the pride factor earlier with the kits. The epitome of the modeler is normally the scratch builder. And I hear it all the time. You go to an event, and one example is Carl Bachhuber, and they always announce Carl Bachhuber is not just a scratch builder, but he designs his own planes also. There's a lot of scratch builders out there that will take somebody's plans and they will completely change them to fit what they want and modify it so that it does what they want. So it doesn't matter if you just design the plane, just the fact of taking the plans and building your own thing, you will never find another one like it, and everybody looks up to that. It's probably the highest, you're considered the elite of the elite if you're scratch building versus building kits versus building ARFs, and that pride factor goes up along with that.
Oh, exactly. And the respect that you gain from that too.
Yep. Oh yeah. So not only that, but it gives you the best value per hour. The best dollar per hour is scratch building. I don't care what anybody says. If I scratch, unless it's available as a kit, if you buy the plans for a kit and you try and build it, you're going to have more into it than what the kit would have cost you. But if it's a true scratch build where there's not a kit available of it, it's definitely the best value per dollar.
Well, it goes back to the conversation me and you had the other day about 2 different airplanes that we both like. One that you've talked about making a kit of, and one that I've always thought was just, it's so ugly it's cool. And that's kind of what I lean towards, is the ugly airplanes that you don't see very often. That it's a rare subject.
Yeah, and I got airplanes. I got enough airplanes in my queue, so to say, planes that I want to build, that I will never get to them all. But there are a certain few, and for some reason, I'm attracted to the super ugly airplanes. And, after I finish this Tri-Pacer and I get started on my next one, you guys are going to go ballistic over it. It is so out there. I've never seen another model of it done. I've already told a couple of people. Greg Hahn is one person that I've talked to about it already. Lee, obviously, I've talked to him about it. But, man, it's so ugly. It attracts me to it, and it's so different and unique, and man, I gotta build it. So if I'm gonna build it, I might as well make a kit of it, even if I only sell 1 or 2 of them. I don't care, because I'm only cutting a few kits at a time. That's the beauty of the low volume kit cutter. So
exactly. and you'll never see 2 of them at the same event usually.
No, not unless it's me and one of my buddies that built one.
Exactly. That's the whole thing,
Yep, and that's the beauty.
And that all goes back to that Top Flight P-47, I got so sick of seeing them things that, it came up, it was like, oh, God, not another one of them.
And the big, beautiful doll.
Yeah, that was a big one for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, man. And they go in spurts, They go in spurts.
Well, I know when I first got into giant scale, it seemed like everybody and their brother had a Corsair.
Yep.
Everybody had one, you know, and
I love the
whatnot.
Corsair.
Every event you went to, there was 5 or 6 of them. And now you still see a spattering of them, but it seems like there's not as many now. You seem to see more P-47s, whether they're the Top Flight or the Robar or what have you.
That's because the P-47 flies so nice. Whether it's a scratch build, a kit build, an ARF, they all fly so freaking nice.
Exactly, and that's why they sell so great.
I mean, if you want an entry-level warbird, get yourself a P-47. I mean, that's plain and simple. That's one of the best flying warbirds that you can get.
Exactly. And, you know, everybody, you know, complains about an elliptical wing. It flies good.
Oh yeah, definitely does, and it's got, because it's an elliptical wing, it's got that unique wing, so it's cool. You know, it's like the Corsair. Everybody's attracted to the Corsair because of the gull wing. You know, everybody's attracted to the Stuka because it's got the gull wing with the ailerons that look like they were an afterthought of, oh shit, we forgot to put ailerons on the airplane. Let's just attach them to the bottom. Who cares if they blend in or not? You know, I mean, every plane has its unique characteristic, and that's what it is. You know, this next one that I want to build after the Tri-Pacer, it's got a crazy unique characteristic, and I mean, when you guys, it's fantastic. I can't wait until, you know, I'd love to say something now, but I have to wait so that I don't get beat to the punch. You know what I'm saying?
Chad, to be honest with you, it's not an ugly airplane. It's a fugly airplane. I mean, but it is a very cool airplane.
Yeah,
definitely. When I seen the first time I seen the picture when Chad showed me, it was like, holy crap, that thing's so ugly, it's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. I built a freaking Grumman duck. You know, I mean.
That's a beautiful airplane, though, man.
So yeah, it is what it is. So now let's talk about the cons, because I mean we went off on a tangent a little bit there too.
Well, you know, whatever.
The cons of the scratch building is it is definitely the most time-consuming way of doing things out there. You know, which does increase the hours per dollar, but you have to dedicate time to it. And if you do a scratch build, you know, if you're doing a giant scale scratch build, it doesn't matter what plane it is. Consider 150 hours minimum to get it put together. Minimum. I mean, there's planes I'll spend 300-400 hours on easily without even thinking about it.
Exactly. This P-39, you know, is basically Jerry Bates' plans. I got a short kit for it. I'm almost ashamed to say that, you know, this is my 3rd winter that I'm working on it.
Yeah,
you know,
well, you've done a lot with it.
Last winter I didn't get a whole lot done on it.
Yeah. So, you know, the other con is normally with a scratch build, you don't get a manual, and you have to be able to read blueprints. You know, that's the key. You know, you have to constantly be thinking of the next step so that you don't put something in and say, oh shit, I needed to get a blind nut in there, now I need to cut a piece out, which isn't the end of the world, but it does add more work to it. You know, you can never screw up a kit so much that you can't get done what you need to get done. It's just a matter of, shit, now I have to cut some of the sheeting out so that I can get this in place, and then I have to resheet it and blend it all in, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, in the long run, don't be afraid to try it, because it's just wood. Cut it apart, glue a new piece together. It's not like a remote control car that has a specific A-arm that you can't just grab a piece of plastic off the shelf and glue it on to make it look how it's supposed to look, you know?
For sure.
So,
and with that, I know I've talked about, you know, Top Flight quite a bit. If you get a Top Flight kit, get 1 or 2 of those underneath your belt before you really start going into the scratch build and buy your, you know, or, you know, just a plans built kit.
I don't even think you need to do that.
Well, as far as, you know, if you don't have anybody to rely on in your local area, if you can build a Top Flight kit, you've got the foundation to start building your own airplanes, from a plan.
Yeah, I mean, if you can read a blueprint, you should be good. And it is a good recommendation to build some other kits first. But, you build a top flight kit and then you build a Jerry Bates, it's going to be two completely different design styles and build styles, But, I mean, the biggest thing is you have to go into it confident. If you don't go into it confident saying, I can build this, you're going to run into nothing but issues because you're always going to second guess yourself.
Yep.
So.
And, even me, I've built several planes and whatnot. I get to a point where it's like, oh man, I'm not really sure about this, and I second guess myself. And then when I really dive into it, it's like, wow, that wasn't that bad.
Well, some is more intimidating because it's like, man, I don't know if this is how it's supposed to happen. But once you get going into it, it really starts working out for you. So just don't be afraid. Try it. See what happens. I lost Lee's volume again. I'm sure he'll butt in, give me an okay when he gets it back. But yeah, don't be afraid to try it. That's the biggest thing. The other thing with kit planes, or not kits, but scratch builds is you will run into a lot of unproven designs out there because not every designer builds this plane. And if you're drawing your plans like I do, you're definitely it's an unproven design, so get ready for that. Get ready to take one off and it not do what you're expecting it to do. I'm sure you've had problems like that already, Lee, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's either the incidence is way off on the airplane or the CG's way the hell off, and you're fighting you basically grab the tiger by the tail and you're hanging on to it just to try to get back down to the ground,
Yep.
So,
and the last con. You got something else you want to add?
One other thing I was just say, if you are going to buy a set of plans or something like that, what I'm going to throw out there, this was years ago. I don't know how it has been lately because I haven't checked on it lately. There was a guy named Uncle Willie's on eBay that would basically take plans from Zaroli and, other designers, Palmer and whatnot. He would basically steal their designs and sell copies of their blueprints and stuff like that. If you know that that's, the only plan that's available is from him, go through and double check. Let's support the guys that design for our industry, that, keep them around, because they're the ones that is going to be in, day out. This guy's just basically stealing stuff and selling stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So keep our designers in our industry around for us.
Yeah, because I mean, even still, if you support this Willie guy, what's he going to do when the other designers say, screw it, I ain't making any money, I ain't getting anything out of this because this guy's just stealing my stuff? You're not going to have those planes anymore.
Exactly. And there's nothing going to be new coming out or anything else like that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what it's all about, having the next new thing. I mean, nobody wants to build the same plane over and over and over and over again. You want to build something different.
Exactly. And that's another reason why we always say, support your local hobby shop. Because if you don't have a local hobby shop, A, you got to mail order everything, and B, you don't have a place to go and shoot the shit or ask questions or anything else like that. So, shop local.
Well, and the last con that I'm going to talk about here, and I think this is the biggest one, it's going to bother you more when you lose your scratch build than when your wife tells you she wants to divorce you. I mean, plain and simple. I've been through a divorce. I know how it works.
There you go.
I told my wife when we first got married, when we first got together, I said, hey, look, I like model airplanes. I build model airplanes. And she goes, oh, that's great. I said, no, I don't think you understand. I build model airplanes. I said, I've been with model airplanes, and at this time, it was 17 years. I said, I've been with model airplanes for 17 years. I just got to know you. Don't make me choose. You're not going to win. My last wife tried making me choose. It didn't work out in her favor. Ask her how the divorce went.
You still have airplanes, don't you?
Yeah, I still have airplanes. I don't have her. So, I mean, and I told her, and it works out great. Me and my wife now, this wife, we have a great relationship. She's very independent. I'm very independent. I do my thing. She does her thing. And once in a while, we meet up in the middle and say hi, you know. But it works out great for us, so.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, that's a whole separate subject. But, yeah, you got to make sure you got somebody that can handle you being away for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, being down in your dungeon or man cave or whatever you want to call it, your shop.
Using up all of your
hours on end and whatnot.
Using up all of your hours of vacation on going to flying events instead of going on vacation with her.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
until you come up to the Tundra Lodge in Green Bay and visit me and bring your wife up, you know, as the I'm doing something nice for you.
Oh, yeah.
Spiel.
Hey, it worked.
Oh, I wanted to take you around the lake so that you could see all the pretty trees. She doesn't listen to this, does she, Lee?
Hell no.
Okay, we're good then. Whew.
We're safe. Yeah, we're safe.
So yeah.
I'm sure somebody will link her in on it, but whatever.
So I hope that answers your questions on why you should choose what you want to choose. You know, Lee and I are always here if you have questions, if you decide you want to dive into that kit or into that scratch build. There are also other good sources. rcscalebuilder.com is a great forum. If you want to get into scratch building, I suggest you do a super common designer like Zeroli or Bates or Hostetler, you know, something of that sort is a lot better to start with, because you can go onto the forum, the RC Scale Builder forum, and there's a crap load of forums as people walk through building that plane. So if you have questions, you can talk to those people. You can talk to Lee and I. There's plenty of outlets out there. Definitely become a site supporter of the rcscalebuilder.com forum if you're getting into building at all, because there's a crap load of knowledge out there on that website.
Oh, definitely. And if you want to take it to the next level, that's the place you're going to see a lot of information to do it.
And for $20 a year, you can't go wrong. I mean, I became a life supporter or lifetime supporter member or whatever a long time ago. But we're going to take a break because Lee's not working anymore. We're done with our scratch build portion. We'll take a break. I'll throw in an ad for... If only you could see what Lee was looking at. But I'll throw in an ad for our Facebook, our YouTube, our Instagram. We're taking a break, Lee, now. So unless there's something else you want to say about the topic.
No, I think we're good, bud.
All right, so let's take a break. If you guys
do have any questions, feel free to ask. You know, either on my personal page, Chad's personal page, you know, the ChadLee show page, whatever. You know, ask us. If we don't know the answer, we'll find out the answer and get it to you.
All right, let's take a break.
All right,
we'll be back, guys.
Good.
See you in a couple seconds.
Hey, this will be my first piss break.
Like my 10th. All right.
Hey everybody, Chad here from the ChadLee Show. Just want to make sure you're subscribing to all of our social media sites. We're on Facebook at ChadLee's After Hours RC Podcast, www.facebook.com/ChadLee Show, or you can simply search us at ChadLee Show. We're also on Instagram at www.instagram.com/ChadLee After Hours Show. You can also search us ChadLee Show. We're also on Podbean. That's where our podcasts are mainly put at. That is chadleeshow.podbean.com. We're also on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, ChadLee's After Hours RC Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that to catch our latest how-to videos. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, welcome back, guys. We are to the Freedom of Information Act section. That
sounds important.
What?
That sounds important.
It is important. This is where our listeners/viewers get to ask the questions that they have from the last podcast to this podcast.
I think I just lost it, Chad.
That's right. So we got quite a few questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 questions. None of which are by Jeremy Chrisman. Uh-oh. I really lost Lee Watkins. He took away his video.
Yeah, to help improve the sound.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Jeremy Chrisman didn't ask any questions. What the hell's up with that?
Right. Well, he was scared because of the table saw incident.
Yeah, but I don't know. I looked forward to his questions, you know.
I do.
That's all right. I guess we'll find somebody else, somebody better.
Yeah. Oh, there's got to be somebody better than that.
Well, there's actually quite a few of these people are people that ask questions, it seems, every show, which is good. You know, that's what I want to get is people that feel comfortable asking questions. And by all means, they don't have to be RC related, guys. I hope Lee took note of the question that I asked him when he shared the post. So
I did.
You know,
I
have some fun.
gave him some thought to it. I doubt it, but
have some fun with it, guys, and ask whatever you want. I mean, this is your time to pick our brains, to find out more about us personally, you know, all that stuff. We'll answer everything.
Yeah. I mean, even about my hot, sticky feet.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they didn't ask any questions like that.
That could have been.
They remember the last podcast.
Oh, man.
So, all right. Well, the first one comes from Alan Hinton. When I am cutting sticks from sheet stock using a Burns table saw, the sticks often take on a bow. Is there a better way to cut sticks from sheet stock? I'm not too familiar with that table saw, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. If you're cutting something on a table saw, whether you cut it on Barnes table saw or a rigid table saw or a Craftsman table saw or whatever table saw you have, or if you're using a master air screw, balsa stripper, whatever it is, and it's gonna bow no matter what tool you use to cut it. And that's simply because it's the graining in the wood, you know, and a lot of times what they do when they dry the wood, they'll dry it super fast and the outside will dry differently than the inside, and that causes internal forces and blah blah blah. You know, I cut a lot of sticks in my day working where I've worked, and I mean, you will throw out a crap load of wood for every good piece. That's just the nature of the beast. That's why balsa wood costs so much, the sticks versus the sheet stock. You know, so that's just what you get, and a lot of times it can be bowed quite a bit, and it's still usable. People think that they can't use it. You know, use the bow to your advantage and place less stress on your fuselage when you're running a stringer that has to bend anyways. You know, we always joked about it saying it was pre-shaped wood. You know, so
exactly.
Yeah. I think some people get too picky with it.
Anytime you cut a piece of wood, you're relieving stress.
Oh yeah.
You know, as far as the grain goes, too.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I hope that answers your question. It's not the saw you're using. It's not how you're doing it. It's just that's the nature of the beast, man, and it is what it is. I don't know where you're getting your wood from. You could maybe try a different supplier, but I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Most of the wood that comes into the United States is coming from the same place anyways. So it doesn't matter really who you get it from. As long as they're buying the same grade, it's the same wood. A lot of companies will buy different grades, but it's all coming from the same supplier for the most part. So.
Yeah, if you're getting a bow too, use it to your advantage. Like you say, you know, you're shaping, you know, your wood or whatnot. If you got a bowed piece and you're making a set, another bowed piece on the opposite side, use them against each other to pull them straight, basically.
Exactly. I mean, I do that a lot on, on wing spars. But the other thing that I like to do too for my spars and stuff like that, or leading edges and trailing edges that need to be perfect, is if I need it to be, say, quarter by half, I'll use 2 quarter by quarters and laminate them together, and that way I can get a perfectly straight piece of wood.
And it's a lot stronger too.
Oh yeah. I mean, so there's ways around it, and I mean, if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to ask us. We'll tell you what we do. Not saying that the way we do it is the only way or the best way. I mean, it's all relative to the piece that's being installed, because I'll do things a bunch of different ways depending on how it's being used on the airplane.
Oh, definitely. And like you said before, Chad, we, if you get in a click club, whatever you want to call it, that builds, your club / click or whatever, it's going to build different than the way my club click builds or whatever. And once we start sharing our ideas, that's when it becomes, kind of relevant that, hey, there is more than one way to do the exact same thing.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. So
all
right. I hope that answers this question. I don't know if you got more to talk about it, but
no, that's good.
All right. Let's move on to the next one, buddy.
All right. Another one from Alan Hinton. I'd like to add to that. Why is Lawson's so damn expensive?
Well, that was actually. Hey, wait. That was actually a response to somebody else that had a Solar Text question, but I just tried to keep the people together, so he didn't want to add to the stick thing. But just why is lozenge text so expensive?
Well, one, it depends on how it's manufactured. One, if it's printed or if it's silk printed or, however it's done, it is going to be a lot more because there's a lot more time involved in doing it, for one.
Definitely.
There's more material and just a bare piece of material. So, I mean, you got the labor and material added to the expense of that. So, and plus it's something that you don't order every single day. So, it's basically supply and demand.
Oh yeah, I agree. I will also tell you, being in the business of printing lozenge text at one point in time, it's because it's just plain and simply expensive to do. You get one fingerprint in it, and that whole piece is shot. You can't send that out because it's got a defect in it, so that drives the cost of it up also. There's a lot of waste that comes along with it, and there's some companies that'll sell the seconds and stuff like that. So that's why it's so expensive. It's also a niche thing. I mean, you're taking a piece of covering that costs you, say $50, and now you're adding another $50 on top of it. You know what I'm saying? In ink and stuff like that. I mean, look at go to the local office store and see how much it costs for the ink for a printer and how much printing you actually get from that. It's expensive to print with ink. It really is, especially like that. It's not like it runs through a huge printing press. It's done with the printer. So that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, when you can buy a printer cheaper than you can buy replacement ink, it's sad,
Yep. I didn't listen to what you said. I was too busy reading the next question.
Imagine that.
All right. We'll move on. I hope that answers your questions, Alan.
There you go.
Which was also watching the live broadcast, I believe, correct?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so that's good. Good to see. So now the next one, Christopher Breams, I'm going to say. I hope I get you guys' names right. The beginners, as far as a flying noob.
Newbie.
Yeah. Should they build?
No.
No.
And
An
RTF.
maybe an ARF learn to repair instead of buying just parts. Laser cut kit. Laser cut small one first just for basic learning. Sometimes try to build, but other things get in the way. All right, I'm just going to, I'm assuming what he's asking is should you build or maybe do a ready to fly or an ARF and learn to repair it instead of just buying parts. And then he goes on about laser, maybe try a small kit for the first one for basic learning. Things get in the way with his building. Basically, I think what he's getting at is what should he do, and we kind of covered this a little bit. I mean, I don't care who you are. There's no greater satisfaction than building a plane, whether it's a kit build or a scratch build. And I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the whole learn to repair an ARF thing before you build a plane, because when you build the plane, you're going to learn all that stuff. There's no need to crash your plane to learn how to build. Just learn how to build. It's really not that tough. The big thing, like I said before, is confidence. You have to have confidence in your ability. It's really not that tough, and don't worry about screwing something up, because even if you
all do it.
Yeah, well, and even if you screw up the spar in your wing, you cut the spar out and you put a new one in. Even if you have to, if you have to put in a spar that's an extra 1/16 of an inch bigger in dimension, it doesn't matter. It's bigger, so it's going to still work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't be afraid to try it. And, you know, I told about Steve Weaver, who I did that tutorial on the cowl that I talked about earlier. You know, I told him, I said, look, you have a cowl, try it. Let me know what happens. If you completely fuck it up, let me know. I will get you something, you know, and whether it's the one that I did for the tutorial that I mail them or whatever, you know, it doesn't hurt to try. You will never learn unless you try.
Exactly.
So.
And don't look at it as a, you know, if you screw something up, it's not really a failure. It's a learning experience. If you screw it up, there's a way to fix it. I mean, no matter how badly you screw it up, you can fix it. One way or another.
And, you know, he says he tries to build, but other things get in the way. If you can put, you know, 2 to 3 hours a week, which is super easy to do. You know, most people watch more than that in television. You know, if you can put that into building your airplane a week, you'll be surprised at how much you get accomplished. It moves along. And I mean, it doesn't matter if it takes you a year to build something or 5 years to build something. The fact of the matter is you will be more proud of that airplane than any other airplane you've ever done. Guaranteed.
And the other thing I can say on that too, don't look at the whole airplane as a project. Look at it as a stab or a vertical fin or a rudder or whatever. Break it down into smaller pieces so that you're not overwhelmed. I think that's where a lot of people get scared of building is, you know, they look at an airplane, oh my God, that's a lot of stuff to do. Now, if you break it down to individual pieces, it's not really that bad.
I agree. Definitely.
So,
all right, I hope that answers your question.
Just try it.
Yep. So, I guess you're up for the next one.
All right. Bernard Adderley wrote, how do you guys decide whether to use pre-colored covering or neutral paintable fabric like natural solar text, especially when you're undecided on a paint scheme? I know when I go to do a airplane project or whatever, I will usually find an airplane that I really like. I mean, no matter what it is, I'll start researching that airplane. I'm kind of a history buff, so I kind of like find out the history on stuff before I do something. So I will find out all about the airplane. Then I'll end up picking either an airplane or a specific pilot or whatever, and then I'll start chasing that rabbit hole. And then, you know, before I build, I already know kind of what I'm going to paint, you know. So by that time, I already know what I'm going to do. And usually my stuff that I do is all going to be painted, so it doesn't really matter as far as the pre-colored stuff. I usually go painted on my stuff anyway. If I was to do a civilian job or something like that, I probably would use I can't really say that I would use it, but I would do a pre-colored covering.
Yeah, this is my idea on the whole thing. I don't use a whole lot of pre-colored stuff for a simple fact of I can buy natural, and after I have some left over from the last project, I can use it on the next project. I like the paint because if I ever have to make a repair, I have the exact paint. Covering is in dye lots, so if I buy a roll this year of olive drab, and then next year I buy another roll of olive drab, it could be 3 to 4 shades different and stand out like a sore thumb. Not only that, you can get more accurate colors if you paint, and painting really isn't that hard. I do a lot of latex, super easy. I got some tutorials out there on it. I actually have my smoothie, a smoothie that I built that's ready to be painted, and I'm going to record some of that and do a how-to for the ChadLee show page. But yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, natural solar text or paintable covering is the way to go in my opinion, just because you don't have to worry about carrying a bunch of different colors, and you can get exactly what you want. I kind of go a little different than Lee. I pick an airplane that I like, and then normally I start building it, and as I'm building it, I'm looking at different color schemes, and I don't necessarily care about the history of the color scheme or the pilot that was in it. I look more for what I think looks cool in a color scheme. You look at my Newport 17 that I built. The reason I did that color scheme is because I hadn't seen a whole lot like it. You always see the silver colors or the silver Newport with the rondelles. I wanted something different, and that's why I chose the German captured one. And then once I pick my color scheme, I'll go through and then I'll research that particular airplane that I'm modeling after at that point and learn all about it, as opposed to how Lee does it, which is kind of the exact opposite of what I do. So it's all on what you enjoy.
Exactly.
Yep. So,
and research, for me is kind of fun. Like I said, I'm kind of a history buff, so I kind of get into watching World War II movies or World War I movies and stuff like that. And documentaries, I watched a lot of them and got a lot of books and whatnot. So just find something that appeals to you is the big thing.
Yeah, well, I agree. So, all right, on to the next one. Bernard Adderley again. What are some of your favorite fillers? What are the differences between micro balloons and milled fiberglass? What are they used for? When and how are they used? I don't really. I guess I do have favorite fillers. I like 3M. Oh, I don't have my bottle around somewhere. 3M makes a finishing glaze. It's a 2-part finishing glaze, not like the orange Bondo stuff. This is actually like a light blue, and it works fantastic. Super smooth, dries quick, easily sandable, lightweight. But it is expensive. It's like $70 for a bottle of it. And then the other thing I use if I'm filling in a lot of area, which I try not to have to fill in a lot of area. Normally I use this when I'm building like plugs or something like that, and I have to carve a shape, get a shape. I'll use just lightweight Bondo. That works really good. I think the biggest difference between the micro balloons and the milled fiberglass is I would tend to use micro balloons where I'm just filling in an area, but I don't want to add a lot of weight because the micro balloons will cut down on the weight. Normally that's done with like an epoxy versus an actual filler. and then milled fiberglass is normally something that you put into like a bondo or something. If you're filling in a larger, deeper area, that's going to give that bondo some strength so it doesn't crack apart on you. So it's all relative to what you're actually filling into, what you want to use, and everything is designed for a certain purpose, and it's a matter of just knowing what you need, you know.
Your milled fiberglass and stuff is going to be used more for composite, you know, plugs for like fuselages and stuff like that, where you got real tight radius.
Yeah.
You know, in the corner, like say like a P-51 Mustang, where it shapes into the spinner or whatever. You know, you got some really sharp compound curves in there. That's going to build you up a radius in there and add strength to it too.
Well,
so, or like a fillet.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've used it a lot on fillets where I've used the milled fiberglass, and just so that it adds a little structure, because, you know, like the fillet, like Lee said, it gets really thin at one point, and I mean the filler will dry hard a lot of times, cure hard, and that fiberglass just helps keep it stable. It's like putting rebar in your concrete. You know, it really magnifies how much stronger that becomes then at that point, you know.
Yeah, because you're tying it in consistently throughout the whole bond versus just having just a block of epoxy or whatever.
Exactly.
It's going to tie it all the way through, all the way from front to end, back to top, you know.
And, you know, a matter of fact, talking about the concrete and putting the rebar in, they actually have a fiberglass that they put in concrete nowadays to help it be stronger, you know. And I don't know if it's really a fiberglass or if it's plastic. It's like little squiggly things that they put in, but they mix it right in, and it's the same principle as the milled fiberglass in our filler. So
it does work good. I've seen a lot of guys use it for, you know, reinforcing firewalls and stuff like that, you know, going to a crutch or whatever, something like that.
Yeah,
you know, it just gives them, you know, instead of putting a triangle piece of hardwood triangle in there or what have you, which the triangle is acting as the fiberglass then. So.
Yeah, well, the triangle is going to be lighter normally and a lot easier to do, so I would always recommend that. But yeah, there's people that do it. I've seen it done already. You know, you just take and put a little on your finger and throw that to put that fillet in there. You know, I mean, it works out good.
Yep. You're just relieving stress is all you're doing.
Exactly, spreading out the load.
All right. Next one, you know, Bernard helped us out quite a bit on this one here. So he's got another question here. He goes, how do you guys typically do wing fuselage struts? What are they made of? And can you describe what your construction details look like? I'm probably going to default to Chad on that because he's been around. I don't do a lot of biplanes and whatnot, but, you know, I know Chad's been around that quite a bit more than I have.
Yeah, you know, Lee's done the low wing warbirds is what Lee does. So I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of struts on his airplanes.
Exactly.
Now, when you're talking wing to fuselage struts, normally you're looking at like lift struts on a Cub, or compression struts on like an egg wagon or something, you know, where it goes from the outer panels of the wing to the fuselage. That would be, you know, your compression struts would be if it's a low wing and it has the struts going from the top of the fuselage down to the wing panel. And then a lift strut would be the opposite on like a Cub, where it has it coming from underneath the wing panel to the bottom of the fuselage. And then you have interplane struts, which go from wing to wing on a biplane. And then you also have cabane struts, which go from on a biplane or a parasol wing, where it goes from the fuselage, basically right by the cockpit area, straight up to the upper wing, you know, the wing that's above the fuselage. And then in the case of like, I think it's the False, actually has cabane struts that go down to the lower wing, because the lower wing actually sits below the fuselage. But so that's the basic types of struts that are out there, and I'll kind of go over what I do for each one. So we'll start out with the super simple cabane struts, and Balsa USA has this nailed down. They're a little solder lug. It's basically a piece of metal with a hole drilled in it and a loop that goes around the wire. you use the hole to bolt it up into a blind nut and a hard point in the top of the wing, or in the top wing. Works really great.
Yeah.
And then
it does.
It does, and it's super practical, super easy to do. You just solder it on. And then we'll go to the next easiest one, which is your interplane struts. And depending on how those have to be, you can use like a metal landing gear strap and just solder a piece of wire into one hole and use the other hole into a blind nut in the wing. Or you can have a metal tab that's attached to a rib and have that stick down below, and then you put a slit in a piece of basswood that you push over that metal tab and run a bolt through it. That works really good, and then you just airfoil your basswood. I use wood for all my struts just because it's practical and easy and readily available. So then that gets into your lift struts and compression struts, which basically you could do the same way as one another. It's just a matter of if it's on the top of the wing or the bottom of the wing. There's multiple ways I like to do this. I'll use the metal tang like on an interplane strut, where I'll just have it come out of the wing, and you can bend it down at an angle. You slit your strut, you slide it up in on the wing, and you can do the same thing on the fuselage side, and you just run a bolt through it. On the case of my tri-pacer that I'm designing, I'm actually doing I'll have a piece of wire come out, and at the end of the strut, I will fiberglass a piece of brass tube on, and that will slide over the piano wire that's on the fuselage side, which is the wheel collar on the back side, and that'll hold that part in place. And then to attach it to the wing, it's just simply going to have a hole drilled through the strut into the wing and a bolt into a blind nut. And I also like to take a piece of brass tube and then set it in that hole so that when you tighten your bolt down, it doesn't crush the strut, seeing as it doesn't have the metal tang and all that stuff. The forces are pulling against the head of it. It just gives it something to go against. And I'll try and get some drawings of this stuff made and put on the Facebook page, with a link in the description of this to it or something like that, so that you can see kind of a picture of all this stuff. But yeah, it's depending on how functional you're making the struts is really how to go about doing it, I guess. So if for some reason you're building a particular model, or you're trying to design something and you need some help, some questions, you can feel free to contact me. I'll help you out. I ain't that way.
There you go.
Yeah, that's that.
I think you got the next one, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Chip Carnes.
Chip Carnes?
Yep. He was actually in my smoothie class when I did the
what
smoothie
balsa stripper
class.
do you guys recommend for making strips so you don't have to keep the right size on hand? I would say, I use master air screw. It's kind of the industry standard, almost, if you will. I'm not sure of who else. I know there's some 3D printed ones now that guys are coming up with. So if you got a 3D printer, you can probably look on like Thingiverse is what it's called, and you can print your own. But for the most part, the standard one is master air screw.
Yeah, and that's
I don't know
what
if Chad got any more on them.
I use the master air screw one also. So, all right, that was easy. I guess I'll take the next one because Lee took mine. This is also by Chip. When scratch building, what is your preferred method for cutting out ribs and formers and sides? If you don't have a laser mill, what do you use for templates? Hoping to scratch build a dirty birdie in 2018. Now, Lee touched on this a little bit with his tool in the toolbox portion.
Yep.
So I'm not going to re-explain that because you already got that. But there are a couple other methods I like to use. I will actually cut it large out of the plan or a photocopy portion of the plan, and then I will use 3M spray adhesive and say it's a rib for like a cub that you have multiple ones, I'll stack up 3-4 sheets, and then I'll glue the paper on. Make sure you only spray one side. Don't spray both sides or you'll never get it all apart. But then I can cut out, 4 ribs at a time because they're all the same anyways. And I'll cut it out. I'll sand it, all that stuff. And then, Lee's back. And then,
Hey!
and then I'll pull the paper off right away and separate all the pieces. You want to make sure you do it right away because if you wait too long, it starts to really become a permanent bond. The other thing you can do is they have a tool, and I think it's for like quilting or something. A lot of the car guys use this trick also, and you can you roll it and it puts a bunch of pinholes in it, and then you just basically put that over the wood, and you can use like graphite or some kind of a dark dust, and you can dust over the top of it, and it will leave basically like a connect the dot thing, and then you can trace it onto the wood that way. I don't necessarily take the time to make a template out of the MDF or whatever people use, the hardy board, hardboard, whatever it's called, because I might as well cut the piece that I need at that point instead of making a template.
And unless you're planning on doing, several airplanes of the same one, that you need that template to keep recreating it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess if you're looking for a laser, never mind. That's the next question.
Whatever.
All right, we're good. On to Lee for the next one.
Alrighty. Chip Carnes wrote again, when scratch... never mind.
Yeah.
Chip Carnes, great. Last 2 questions. Do you find it beneficial to lay out and label all parts before starting a new kit build? And if someone's looking to buy a laser cutter, what should you look for? This is a 2-part question. I think we'll tag team it as I get first part, you get second part.
Sounds good, buddy. Works for me.
As far as laying it out and everything, I would say yeah. You spend more time getting all your parts together. I usually try to lay it out as parts. So I'm gonna put all my parts for my stab together, all my parts for my left wing together, all my parts for my right wing together, vertical fin, whatever, fuselage. Put them all in groups, and then as I'm building, I'm just reaching for that group of parts and whatnot. It does take more time to lay that stuff all out for you and whatnot, but in the long run, it's kind of quicker, I think, when you're actually in the throes of building and whatnot. You're not digging through a box of 600 pieces of wood trying to find out what part you need for it. So I say yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. There's some disadvantages to that also. You run a lot higher chance of losing a part when you do pull everything out.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times what I did is I would pull them all out, and I got the little Sterlite. There's like 3 bins to a container, and then I put them all in there so that I lessen the chance of losing something, But yeah, it's really a personal preference, I think. I don't necessarily take the time to label everything, but as I'm going through, looking through all the die cut sheets, and I say, I'm going to need this later, I'll set it aside so that I can find it quicker later when I need it and kind of make a mental note, I'll separate all the ribs, stuff like that. So yeah. And then the second part of the question... If someone's looking into buying
what do you look for?
A laser cutter, what should you look for? And this too, this is a personal preference. It depends what you want to cut. For the average modeler, a simple 65 watt or 80 watt laser is plenty good. You don't have to get crazy. Buy a cheap one because you're doing it for a hobby. You're not going to be running it hard enough and long enough that you're really going to wear it out. I can guarantee you with that. you'll probably find yourself cleaning the dust out of it more so that it works properly than actually realigning it because it's gotten out of focus or whatever, just from lack of being used. But I would recommend finding something that you can fit a 36-inch piece of balsa on. So have a table that's at least 36 inches in one way. That way you can use stock sizes and put it in. You're not wasting any wood. I mean, there's a crap load of different stuff out there, from the Chinese pre-built to kits to buying an American assembled Chinese thing. I'm actually looking at buying a laser. I'll probably buy a Boss laser. We had real good luck. We bought one at Balsa USA. We had real good luck with it. I liked it a lot. I liked it enough that I plan on buying myself a personal laser, and that's what I'm going to get is the Boss laser. I know there's some other people that I'm friends with that are looking at purchasing one also. So it's a good value for the money, and you can kind of build it up. But there again, it's like say a servo. Buy the best one you can afford, for the simple fact of, like a servo. I've never heard of a plane crashing because the servo was too big, too powerful.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with the laser. I've never heard anybody complain because they were able to cut thicker wood than they wanted to. You know what I'm saying? So buy the best one you can afford comfortably. You're going to be happy because the hobby, like everything, is ever evolving, using different materials, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, send us a message. I know quite a bit about them from the research I did when we were buying ours. So
yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but sooner or later I probably will have one.
That's all right, buddy. I will get one, and I will cut you all the parts you could ever want.
There you go.
Granted, you'll have to come to Wisconsin to pick them up. But
imagine that.
They will be here. Or I can mail them. We have
there
mail.
You go.
So, all right. You're up for the
next one. Yeah, it only runs like twice a year, though.
You're up for the next one, buddy.
There you go. All right. Alan Gall.
Oh, boy.
The guy that does not like Balsa USA because he ran into two banners.
I thought it was a personal attack on me, and then I realized it was just Balsa USA in general after he started taking out their banners.
There you go.
No, he's a good guy.
What do you use for a building board? Me personally, I've got a couple different styles that I use. One of my garage I use is actually a hollow core door, which works fantastic. I've been using them for many years. They work great. I've had basically plywood tables that had drywall on them. I've used them. Those work great. One I've got in my inside the house table is basically a table with 3/4 inch styrofoam on top of it. Main thing is just make sure it's kind of square and level and flat is the biggest thing. I know Chaz used a couple different styles too, so we can use folding tables with ceiling tiles on them.
Yeah. I mean, well, I tell you right now, I'm looking at my shop. I have two built-up tables that I use. 2x6 with 3/4 ply and then 1/2 inch homosode on, and then I also have some folding tables, and I just have a hollow core door. I actually have 3 hollow core doors with 1/2 inch homosode on top of them. I've always used homosode for my building, what I stick my pins into, because I find it grabs the pin the best, lasts the longest, and has the greatest holding strength for the pin to hold my pieces into position. And that's what I'm comfortable with. There's a bunch of different other products that other people use, and it works fine.
And one other thing I'd like to say on the building board thing, you can build them as big as you want. I've had up to 4x10, building tables.
Hey, Lee, stop for a second.
The only thing with the 4x10s is, 4x10, 4x8, 4x6 or whatever. The bigger you make it, the more of a collector it becomes. I find myself having to spend 3-4 hours. Oh, Chad's saying stop.
Oh, hold up for a second.
Did we run out of time?
Well, I got a thing. I hope it didn't fuck up. But my recording said, error, recording too long.
We've only been on the air for 3 hours and 47 minutes.
Hopefully, I mean, I recorded in 2 different places, so hopefully one of them works out fine. I've just restarted it, so we should be good. Whoops.
There you go.
My bad.
There you go.
So.
I'll backtrack a little bit. As
not-
far as building, you can build any size table you want, but just my personal experience, the bigger you build the table, the more crap that you end up putting on top of that table. And then when you really need the table, it's going to take you 2, 3, 4 hours to go through and sort out all the crap that you put on it, putting it away just to get to the table that you need. So the smaller the table that works for your needs, I found is the better off you are.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that's that. Next one is from Adam Klein, who is also watching the
Yep.
live version, I believe. What are your favorite and least favorite ARFs, and your favorite and least favorite kits? This is a tough one. I don't know.
This is where we need 3-quarter Joe at.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know there's a lot of good ARFs out there. Hanger 9 has some really good stuff out there. I personally think they're probably leading the pack right now in the best quality ARF. And I would have to say that my personal least favorite ARF is, I've always said 2 things. I hate Chinese ARFs, and I hate fiberglass fuselages. And you get like the ESM models, they have fiberglass Chinese ARFs, and that's just not my thing. Not saying that they don't look good when they're done, and that they're not good. It's just, it's not my style of thing. I would rather have a balsa wood ARF.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I guess as far
seeing
as
some of the ARFs that I've seen, some of the quality of them, like you say, where you got to spend just as much time repairing one coming out of the box as you do building one. Is it really an ARF?
yeah. Well, exactly. But yeah, I guess and as far as my favorite and least favorite kits, I'm not a big fan of kits, and I think anybody that has been scratch building for a long time will say the same thing, because it does get super annoying searching for that one specific stick. When I'm building my scratch builds, I just buy sheet stock and I cut the size stick that I need, and it's, to me, that's easier, and I get used to that, and I end up finding that I don't follow the instructions anyway, so it's like a scratch build, and I'm just building off the plans without using the manual anyways. So I guess I don't really have a favorite or least favorite kit. So I guess that's that. What's your thoughts, buddy?
I agree with the same thing. I find myself, even a Balsa USA kit, I find myself building it, and it's like, oh crap, I should look at the manual, and I'll go back to the manual like, all right, well, I guess I'm here now.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
but that goes back to just building in general. You get to the point where you know what goes next.
Well, and like I said, if you want a kit that's going to be the most straightforward, Top Flight has great kits out there. And I hate to toot my own horn, but the Smoothie XL, I think, is a great kit with the way the manual and everything was designed. You start getting, it's a sport plane, so it's easier to make those nicer. You start getting into the scale stuff, I would say, any of the newer kits are probably going to be easier to build just because they're more modern technology and more up to speed with what the average modeler wants in a kit nowadays. So.
Oh, definitely. And there's new kit manufacturers coming out all the time too. one that I'm actually signed up for right now is for a quarter scale Stuka. It's from Folk RC. And his stuff is basically designed like an ARF would be built, but it's in a kit form. So, I mean, he's taking it to the next level as far as getting things light and whatnot. So, I mean, look around, kind of pay attention to what you see coming out there, what guys are building and whatnot. So, and like you say, RC Universe or RC Scale Builder is a great source of, seeing what guys are doing with stuff.
Yeah, I agree. RC Scale Builders is probably the best RC forum that's specifically made for building airplanes. No ARF stuff or anything of that sort. So.
Oh, I agree 100%. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the play for home, guys. Chad.
What's that? You still there? What'd you say?
I said exactly. That's for the play for home guys.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it. I'm busy opening up the website for the next thing I want to talk about, so I apologize for that. All right, that's all the questions for the Freedom of Information Act. Fantastic.
Appreciate all your questions, guys.
Oh yeah, definitely, and thank you for the guys that are constantly asking it. We need questions, otherwise that spot goes away, and it's kind of nice to get your question answered on the air. I think I ask questions in the other podcasts that I listen to, so, and I know that's one of the things I look forward to most is hearing what their answer is. So,
and there's no such thing as a dumb question unless I ask it.
Yeah. So, all right, that brings us to the next section.
Notable events.
Yeah, notable events. I would like to talk about the Blue Max. And
sounds good.
The website, I will have a link to it, but the website is thebluemaxrc.com. This is a great event. The first time I went to it was last year. It's down in Florida at the Sanford Aero Modelers RC Club. And you go on their website, you can find prior stuff, sponsors, registration, apparel, the flyer, contacts, accommodations, all that kind of stuff. The dates is January 26th and 27th of 2018. They have a bunch of stuff. They actually do a small competition. It's more of like a fun competition, I think, than like a Scale Masters or Top Gun or something like that. And it's not required that you do it, So it was fun when I went last year. I'm going to try and go down again this year with Pete Goldsmith. We're working on seeing if we can get down there together. So, that's a good event.
Cool. I'd like to go. I'm not sure if I can or not, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, well, you don't have a World War I plane, anyways.
Well, I've got one like 3/4 of the way done. So.
Well. Not funny anymore now.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
So yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I don't have anything on notable events, so.
Yeah, that brings us to the end, I think.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah, we're only
4 hours. 4 hours into it.
We've only been recording for 3.5 hours.
Well.
So it'll probably be
another half hour.
I'm sure it'll be a 3-hour show by the time I'm done editing it.
There you go. I had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time too. I don't know. It was fun doing the live thing. I'd like to get that down a little better, so that I can. Maybe we can do a full show sometime live. We'll see what happens.
I think. During the summer when we're at some of the events, for sure we'll try to do that too.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the key. I'm trying to get this all ready for for the summer events when we're at the flying field.
You know, it's funny as hell watching your lips move, and I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yeah, you can't hear me right now?
I couldn't.
So let me, let's do this. You got a second still?
Sure.
This is a on the whim. Let's see if I can do this here. Add people to this call. I just saw somebody jump on. I'm gonna see if you'll answer.
Uh-oh.
It's ringing. Hello?
Liver.
Did he answer?
I see a picture of an airplane.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Chip?
Man, it's going well. How about you?
Not too bad.
Hey, Chip, it's Lee.
Hey, Lee. How are you?
Pretty good.
You're on the ChadLee After Show RC podcast.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
You're on the ChadLee Show After Hours RC podcast.
Awesome.
So don't cuss.
Okay. I won't. I will be nice.
Yeah, we'll beat your ass if you cuss.
Well, don't be real nice, but...
No, I just saw you pop on, and I figured I'd give you a call. We're still recording the podcast, so.
Well, awesome. I was when y'all started the podcast earlier. I was starting on a new build. So.
Yeah, what you building?
I'm building a SIG Cadet Senior. Always wanted one. Just thought I'd build one.
You know,
there you go.
I remember
Excellent.
back in the late 90s, mid-late 90s, we all had the Cadet Seniors, and we would do touch and goes off of people's trailers, off of the shed. They're a blast. You're going to love it, man.
We had a guy in our club who recently passed away probably about 2 years ago, and he had a Cadet Senior that he had done up in the pre-war military or pre-war Air Corps colors, blue and yellow. And I used to love watching him just float around the skies in that thing. And I always said, one day I'm going to have one. So I finally went ahead and bought one, and I'm going to put flaps and ailerons on this one just for fun.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
It's worth it. It's fun. I had a blast with mine, so. So
Something tells me you have a blast with every one of them you have.
I try to. There's no point in making one if you're not going to have fun with it.
That's right.
So we got through your questions. Are you looking at buying a laser cutter?
You know, it's something that I just had toyed around with. I actually talked to somebody today that stopped me. He works at the tech school here in town and said that they had just purchased a laser cutter and they were playing with it. And he told me to send him some stuff, and he cut some things out. But I have toyed with the idea of getting one for my shop.
Yeah. What do you know? What brand laser cutter they got?
He told me, but I cannot remember what it was.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I would look at Boss Lasers. They're down in Florida. Yeah, they got a good selection. I'm actually probably going to be purchasing one myself, and that's the one I'm going to buy. That was the last one that we bought at Balsa USA was a Boss Laser.
Okay.
So they got a bunch of different sizes, bunch of different options. So
I'll check into it.
yeah,
I think they're cool, and I wouldn't mind having one here for the shop. I've not really ever done a whole lot of scratch building, so just thought it's just something I thought I might look into. But I would like to also start cutting some stuff out by hand. But you know, everybody has a laser cutter. It seems like everybody you turn around and talk to has one that's in the hobby. So
yeah, you don't want to cut stuff out by hand, man. That sucks.
Yeah, it does. It takes a long time.
It's fun for
I
like
know
the
it
first
does.
rib. So,
I cut out a Valancourt Focke-Wulf 190, and I spent a whole day on a bandsaw or a troll saw, and almost finished.
yeah, that sucks. I remember when I didn't even have a bandsaw or a scroll saw, and I was cutting them out with frickin' Zona saws and razor blades. That was
Oh,
terrible.
man.
I've cut some ribs out with a razor blade, and if you've got more than about 5 of them, it takes a long time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And they come out like crap too. It always seems.
Yep.
They do, and you know, you see all these people that know how to use a bandsaw real well, and it's a constant core wing, and they can just stack a bunch of them together and make a perfect, you know, every one of them perfect. And I'm like, how in the world do you do that? Mine come out tapered because my bandsaw's all screwed up.
Yeah.
It happens.
All right. Well, thanks for joining the show for us on a whim.
Hey, not a problem.
I guess
I was just jumping on here to see who all was on Skype. So looks like y'all are about it.
We're the only dumb ones still on.
So I guess that brings us to the end of the show. As always, guys, keep calm and build the plane.
And whatever happens in the hangar stays in the hangar.
All right. See you
Till
guys
next
later.
time. We'll see you guys.
Bye. Say bye, Chip.
All right, see you, Chad. Y'all have a good one. See you, Lee.
See you.
All right.
Chip.
Bye, buddy.
All right.
I guess that was unexpected.
There you go.
I said, screw it. I'm going to give him a call.